45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the place you're not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on into a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in, 888-710-4476. You can always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you can follow me even on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. We got football, and more football. A lot of football going on in the NFL, a lot of football going on in college. We will get to all of that coming up in the next 3 hours as we will say goodbye to you at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific today. I want to start inside the AFC North. And you know where we're starting the show with today. Shedeur Sanders saw the football field. Dillon Gabriel gets concussed. Shedeur Sanders plays in the second half. And there are so many overreactions. Overreactions where I'm sitting there saying, people are saying he played great, which I didn't see. People are sitting there saying he's the next franchise quarterback, where I don't know how you could draw that conclusion from yesterday. And then others are making it out to be as if it is the worst thing they've ever saw on the football field, which, let's be real, it was not. Here's the reality of the situation. Preparation, no preparation, ideal spot, not an ideal spot, whatever side of the fence that you want to sit on in this one. Whether you believe in Shedeur Sanders or you don't believe in Shedeur Sanders, I think this is something we could all agree on. And I know we live in a world where it's almost impossible for everyone to agree on something. Don't you want to see more Shedeur? Like, I want to see more Shedeur. The Browns play the Raiders next week. Why not see Shedeur Sanders? Why not start Shedeur Sanders in that one? Because the Browns suck. They're 2-8 football team. The Cleveland Browns, with or without Shedeur Sanders, they are not a good football team. And yesterday, Myles Garrett, just like he did up against the Patriots, is running through the offensive line of the Baltimore Ravens, and he's doing everything he can to will his team to a victory. But when you don't have an offense, there's very little that you could do. Not everyone could be the Philadelphia Eagles of this past week, where the Packers and the Lions just got shut down by the Eagles defense, and it didn't really even matter that the Eagles offense in both those games were pretty much non-existent. The Cleveland Browns are not the Philadelphia Eagles. I hate to sound like Juju Smith-Schuster, but there's a reason why we say the Browns is the Browns. Because the Cleveland Browns don't have an offense. They don't even look like they have concepts of a plan on the offensive side of the ball. I love throwing in that little line. But you could sit there and you could say, oh, well, I saw what Wyatt Teller said after the game. I think I've heard Shedeur Sanders' cadence like 2 or 3 times. And you could sit there and Kevin Stefanski, who's received a lot of flack and unfair flack through this entire process, if you want to kill the coach, go ahead. Right? If you want to put it on the quarterback, regardless, I don't care. I am not entertaining either side of this. I know, right, people, they want to tune in and you want to hear an opinion and you want me to be all one way or all another way. You can't really make a reaction to what transpired and a fair, measured take to what transpired in the second half yesterday. And I'll speak to both sides. I can't sit there and say that the guy played great. He was 4-16 for 47 yards, held onto the football forever, and had an interception. So with whether you're a Skip Bayless or you're Josina Anderson, how could you sit there and pretend like you saw something special? And then on the other side, if you're saying it's the worst thing you've ever seen, well, what were you expecting? The Cleveland Browns have not had an intention on playing Shedeur Sanders. I thought last week, and I said it last week, barring injury, where injury did transpire, Shedeur Sanders wasn't going to see the field, and there's a chance that Deshaun Watson was even going to start a game before him. That's what I thought, barring an injury to Dillon Gabriel. Well, lo and behold, you say that, and then a few days later, Dillon Gabriel gets concussed, and then Shedeur Sanders gets thrown into the fold. But if you're going to sit there and say, oh, Shedeur showed you why you guys are all zany and why you guys are all ridiculous in wanting to see Shedeur Sanders play because he wasn't any good. Yeah, he wasn't any good. But they weren't preparing him to play. Now, I could also spin that and say, hey, when you're given an opportunity, I don't care if everything is even. I don't care if everything is leveled. If you're a great quarterback, you go on out there and you show people some signs that you can be a great quarterback. But what I saw yesterday, whether if you were in the building or you were watching it from afar like I was, you saw an energy. You saw an excitement. You saw people actually tuning in and scurrying when you hear that Dillon Gabriel got hurt and Shedeur Sanders is going to play. You had people scurrying to watch the game or people in the stadium probably coming on back from getting their beers and sitting down and rushing to their seats. Because one of the biggest talking points this offseason, one of the biggest talking points this season has been about a guy that we have not seen play in Shedeur Sanders. So I haven't seen Dillon Gabriel do anything this year that suggests to me that Dillon Gabriel is the dude and that Dillon Gabriel is the man. You know, I know earlier in the season, he didn't look horrible, but you have a team that has so many picks coming up in the draft, right, from the trade with Travis Hunter. And you have to make a decision, even in a quarterback draft class that's not loaded this year. But you have to make a decision on, are you going to be able to take a quarterback based off the guys that you have on the roster? And the guys that are on the roster right now, I've seen Dillon Gabriel play. I'm not going to walk away at this season, even if Dillon Gabriel doesn't play another snap. And if he does, I don't think he's going to change my opinion in me saying, oh, Dillon Gabriel is going to be all that, or Dillon Gabriel is going to be a guy that I want to see starting games for the Cleveland Browns next year and being their starting quarterback, with me thinking he could develop into their franchise quarterback. So why not, when we've seen this experiment with Dillon Gabriel, and it has not worked through the first 9 games of the season, now 10, why not now hand the baton over to Shedeur Sanders? Why not now, at least when the Browns trot into the field this upcoming weekend against Stu's Raiders, why not at least play Shedeur Sanders? Because whether you think he's going to be great or you think he's going to be horrible, and however you want to react to yesterday, fair or not, there's at least a buzz. There's at least an excitement. And this is not a good football team in Cleveland. The Browns stink. They're dreadful. They have a really good defense, but their offense blows. So at least give me something as a fan, right? As someone that enjoys football, that gives me a reason to tune in to a game between two crappy teams next week. Because the Raiders stink, the Browns stink. So the only reason why I would tune into that game next week would be for one reason and one reason only, to see Shedeur Sanders play. And you can make the case he's one of, if not the most polarizing players in the NFL, and he hasn't even started a game yet in the NFL. Because there's no gray area here. People are either rooting for him to succeed and shut everybody up, or they're rooting for him to fail, and they want to throw it back in his face and his dad's face. That's what it is. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders is going to be great. I don't know if he's going to be horrible. I can't make that determination off a half of football when the Browns weren't even intending to play him. Nobody can. But as a fan, I'm curious to see more. I don't need to see more of Dillon Gabriel this year. I want to see more of Shedeur. So play Shedeur Sanders next week. Start him at quarterback, and then we could get multiple games potentially of actually evaluating this guy and seeing if he has a future as a starting quarterback in this league. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Now, on the other side, it wasn't pretty for the Ravens, right? The Ravens won that game. I don't think you'll walk away saying, oh, I feel great about the Ravens. But with that being said, style points don't matter in this league. And with how dreadful the Ravens were to start off this season, you just had to find a way to pull out of what was this 1-5 hole. And now they're sitting there at 5-5. And they beat the Bears, was good victory. They beat the Dolphins, right? Lopsided victory. You know, they beat the Vikings, solid performance. And then you beat Cleveland in a game that you could have lost. But coming up for the Ravens, you play the Jets, you play the Bengals. Those are the next two. You should win both those games. You should be able to beat the Jets or going to Tyrod Taylor. You should be able to beat the Bengals on a short week on Thanksgiving night. And you should be 7-5. And you take a look on the other side as the team that you're chasing, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sure, Pittsburgh, they beat yesterday. They had that victory up against Cincinnati Bengals, but it wasn't as if Pittsburgh, you walk away from that one knowing that this team is moving in the right direction either. Right? The Steelers have been so inconsistent ever since they started the season off 4-1. They lose to the Bengals. They lose to the Packers. They then somehow beat the Colts. They then get blown out by the Chargers. And then they beat the Bengals. But in the aftermath of that game, right? It comes out, and you knew that Rodgers got hurt in the game, and you saw Mason Rudolph go in. But in his left wrist, Aaron Rodgers has a left wrist injury, and he has a slight break in his left wrist. Now, Aaron Rodgers, I saw Ian Rappaport talk about it this morning. He's pushing to play. He's not pushing to miss any time. It's not perceived to be as bad as what people thought. And Adam Schefter echoed the same sentiment. So the two of the best insiders in the business. So we'll see what happens with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Pittsburgh Steelers don't intimidate you. They don't. Like, you look at the Steelers and the Ravens, even though I wasn't blown away by either team yesterday, and I think the Ravens probably, you could argue, should have lost that game up against the Cleveland Browns. You know, with the Steelers' defense being all over the place, with Aaron Rodgers, who I said going into this year, is he going to be able to survive an entire season? Now he has this left wrist injury, and I know Mason Rudolph played well yesterday, but do you trust Mason Rudolph for a few weeks if they got to turn the, pass the baton to him? I don't. So this is starting to shape up to be, and you look around the AFC, right? Patriots, Bills, they'll both be playoff teams. You look inside the North, probably only one spot. The South, it's probably going to the Colts. And then you got the AFC West, where the Broncos are definitely going to the playoffs. I know the Chargers got blown out yesterday, but they should make the playoffs. Kansas City's still there. So could you potentially get two teams in from the AFC North? I guess it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. It seems as if there's going to be one spot for the AFC North that's going to be up for grabs, and you better win that division, because if you don't, then you're going to be SOL. And let's not forget about the Jaguars, right? The Jaguars, even though I still think the Colts are going to win the division, they're 6-4. I don't think they're all that good. And, right, they have a bunch of injuries, but they just destroyed the Chargers, in Duval. And the Texans are sitting there at 5-5. So there's a limited amount of spots. You only get 7 spots. And if you're a team in the AFC North, when you're currently sitting there and you're limping to the finish line, should I feel good about the Steelers or the Ravens long term? No, not for the season. I'm not going to sit there and say both those teams are going to be waltzing on into the playoff field. No, I think it'll be one team. So you look at the state of the AFC North right now. The Browns, it's all about Shedeur and the status of Shedeur Sanders. The Ravens, you have climbed out of this hole. Now can you go run to the playoffs and be one of the more dangerous teams potentially in the NFL when you enter the postseason? And then you look at the Steelers, it's all going to be about the health of Aaron Rodgers. Now, let me spend a second here on the Bengals. What an embarrassing season the Cincinnati Bengals have had. And I understand you could chalk it up to Joe Burrow getting injured, but that offense is supposed to be humming with or without Joe Burrow. And the biggest problems that Cincinnati's had the last few years has been their defense, and their defense isn't up to par. But Jamar Chase, don't act like an ass. All right, you embarrassed yourself yesterday. You had a horrible game on the field. Your team is going nowhere. You're going to miss the playoffs once again. You're making all this money. You had 3 catches in the game for 30 yards. You weren't good yesterday. And the next thing you see is Jalen Ramsey's throwing a punch at him. And when I first saw that, I said, because I usually think Ramsey is an ass, that, Jalen Ramsey is being a dope. But then you see the replay, and Jamar Chase spat on Jalen Ramsey. What are we doing here? Yeah, we started the football season with the Dak Tua, with Jalen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott. And now we're sitting here getting ready for Thanksgiving coming up in 2 weeks, and we have another player spitting on someone? And when I first saw it, I said to myself, he probably won't get suspended even though he should. Because I remember saying to myself, well, Jalen Carter didn't get suspended, but Jalen Carter got ejected from the game. So he missed the entirety of the game. It was the first play of the freaking season from line of scrimmage. And he got ejected. Right before they snapped the ball for the first snap of the line of scrimmage, right off the kick return, I think it was a fullback or something got hurt for the Eagles. But they counted that as a game suspension because he missed the entirety of the game. So now my Patriots, shapes up all for us. We get the Bengals this week. I don't know if we need the help, let's be real. But Jamar Chase should be suspended. He should be suspended for a game. You can't create a culture in the NFL, if you're the commissioner, Roger Goodell, where you're going to allow players to spit on one another and just let them get away with it. And the way that you deem this, the way that you set a precedent with this was, Jalen Carter, he missed the game, so that was a full game. So that was basically his suspension. So if Carter got ejected in the beginning of the game, and this happened at the end of the game, then Jamar Chase, if you're going to credit Jalen Carter for missing an entire game for being suspended from the beginning, then if you want to be consistent, you suspend Jamar Chase for this upcoming Sunday up against the Patriots. Right? That's what makes sense to me. But Jamar Chase spitting on Jalen Ramsey is just low class. And you know what? Take your ball and go home. You embarrassed yourself yesterday. Your team sucks right now. You're going to miss the playoffs once again. You went from being in a Super Bowl, then losing to an AFC championship game, and then you've gone back to being the Bengals. There's one thing to lose a game. There's one thing to not meet expectations. There's one thing to have a season that's just not going your way. But lose with some class and don't be an ass. It's that simple. You cannot spit on another man on the football field and think that there should be no punishment and then lie to us all at the end. There's 4,000 camera angles. It is clear as day that you spit right on Jalen Ramsey. So you should be suspended for a bare minimum a game, and don't be an a-hole next time. And don't be a jerk. And don't be low class. And don't be a sore loser. I like the Bengals. Right? Like, I want to see the Bengals be good. But what Jamar Chase did yesterday was absolutely disgraceful. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We start things strong with the AFC North. When we come on back, Carlos with the K. He had a prediction this offseason. I may or may not have called him stupid. I thought it was one of the dumbest predictions I've ever heard. But I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty happy that Carlos with the K may be right. I don't know if he's going to be right. He may be right. We're talking about Carlos with the K's, Kansas City Chiefs, next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
You know, Josina Anderson really has embarrassed herself when it comes to Shedeur Sanders. But this is something. This is like a new low. So she posted this tweet with under 2 minutes to go. When Shedeur Sanders was facing 3rd and 10, he threw the ball about 5 yards, and then Jerry Jeudy broke through, I think it was 3 or 4 defenders to get the first down. So Josina Anderson tweets that video out. And she wrote, here was the against all odds 3rd and 10 completion by Shedeur Sanders with under 2 minutes to go, #Browns. She's acting as if 3rd and 10 is this impossible completion. And also, you really get 2 plays if you want it because it's late in the game. It's 23-16. You're not going to take a field goal in that spot. You could complete the ball for 5 yards. Jerry Jeudy didn't even need to go through 4 or 5 defenders. He did those. So you move the chains, move those chains, and you give a first down. And then you would have got a 4th and 5 coming up. And you could have converted right there. 3rd and 10 is not against all the odds. She's acting, Josina Anderson, like Shedeur Sanders are down 28-3 and won a game. Or it was Donovan McNabb to Freddie Mitchell on 4th and 26 in the playoffs. Or it was the immaculate reception, or it was the helmet catch in a Super Bowl. Oh, my God. Like, I understand we all like people, and I have nothing against Shedeur. I want Shedeur to do well. But against all odds, a 3rd and 10 completion when the guy basically dumped off the football, and then Jerry Jeudy put on the Superman cape and flew through defenders. Ay, ay, ay. I'm telling you, it goes both ways with the Shedeur Sanders stuff. There will be people that slobber over Shedeur and give him credit for things that he didn't even do well. And then there are people that'll absolutely eviscerate this kid, and they make it as if he's the worst quarterback ever and give him no credit for what he's done even before he got to the NFL. He's done nothing yet in the NFL. He hasn't been given an opportunity to do anything yet in the NFL. But my, oh my, this Shedeur Sanders stuff, you know what it is? It's exhausting. It's fun to see. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to see Shedeur Sanders play this week. I want to see him start this week. But just all the conversations and the way that both sides just move the goalposts here to either make Shedeur Sanders the greatest thing since sliced bread or the worst quarterback they've ever seen, it is ridiculous. It is one of the more idiotic things that I've ever seen. All righty. Let's get to something that's stunning. The Kansas City Chiefs right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-5. Now, Carlos with the K this summer, I was with him, I was hanging out, and he showed up with a sign that he had draped over his body, and he said the Chiefs aren't making the playoffs this year. And I sat there, and you know what I said? This is Carlos with a K, looking for clicks, right? That's what he was doing. Carlos with the K was looking for clicks. He wanted people to pay attention to him. He wanted people to rub him on the head, pat him on his belly, right? And they just wanted to be like, hey, Carlos, we're paying attention to your ridiculous jackassery claims. I never thought he was serious. And I have since said, you know, that's maybe the dumbest prediction I've ever heard from a producer here at the network. And you look at Carlos with the K, I thought he was just saying something on the contrary to just get a reaction out of people. And I said the only way that the Chiefs miss the playoffs this year is if number 15 gets hurt. Well, I'll give Carlos with the K credit. I will, right? If I'm going to crush him when I think he's going to be wrong, I will at least give him credit for this. And he still may be wrong, by the way. The Chiefs could still make the playoffs. But we're now 11 weeks to the season. The fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are not a lock to make the playoffs, and there is a lot of significant doubt and serious doubt now that they could miss the playoffs, I'll give credit to Carlos with a K. Even if he ends up being wrong and the Chiefs end up like snagging a 7th seed or a 6th seed, it was a prediction that it may not be right, but it was so outlandish and zany that the fact that 11 weeks in, we're even considering it still as a possibility, and a lot of people think the Chiefs are going to miss the playoffs, it's a credit to Carlos with the K right now. So you look at the AFC. Pats are 9-2. Bills with 6 touchdowns yesterday from Josh Allen. They're 7-3. Steelers are 6-4. Ravens are 5-5. Colts are 8-2. Jaguars are 6-4. Texans are 5-5. Broncos are 9-2. Chargers are 7-4. And Kansas City's 5-5. Those are 10 teams right there that we're still considering, right, that they have a chance to make the postseason. And you only get 7 spots. And 4 of those spots are occupied by division winners. I look at the Chiefs right now. They're not winning this division. Like yesterday, that solidifies the Denver Broncos or the Los Angeles Chargers winning the division. Now, the Chargers urinated down the leg. Oh, I looked at that spread, and I said it to JJ when he joined us on Friday. I said, this is probably a sucker line. 2.5 points, the Chargers, they're going to Duval. The Jaguars are trending the wrong direction. Justin Herbert's the best player on the field. I thought for sure, even though I said this could be a sucker bet, I don't care, I'll lose money. That game was over after the first damn quarter. The first damn quarter. The Chargers had no life. Oh, my God, disgraceful. And that's one of those games, and I love Harbaugh. I love Harbaugh. But it's one of those games you say, same old Chargers. Same old Chargers. How they go to Jacksonville, and they should have just stayed in Los Angeles. Why even go to Duval? Duval. Why even go there? If that's the bleep poor effort that you're going to give on a football field for a team that, I get it, right, going into the game, the Jaguars had a respectable record of 5-4, but they were the walking wounded. And you let them just dominate you and drag you up and down the field for 4 quarters? But still, even with that being said, the Broncos, the Chargers, one of those teams are going to win the AFC West. It's probably going to be Denver, even though I don't think Denver's offense is all that good. Bo Nix made some big plays yesterday, but that defense is a story out in Denver. But Kansas City's 5-5. I'm past the point of considering them to be an AFC West winner. That's what wrapped it up for me yesterday, is that the Chiefs won't win the AFC West. Now they're going to miss the postseason. That's the question. So, Stu, do me a favor here. I know you have a lot of respect for the Chiefs because you've seen them just dominate your division, you being a fan of the Raiders. But you also hate the Broncos because you hate Anthony Gallo. And you also hate the Chargers because Nico's a big Michigan fan, so therefore he slobbers all over Harbaugh. And you hate Nico, too. Let's be real about it. So, at 5-5, Bills bye week, then Andy Reid off the bye, losing to the Denver Broncos. The Kansas City Chiefs Just yes or no before I give you the schedule. Because sometimes you could say something, and then you go through the schedule and you go, oh, it goes against what I'm going to say. But at 5-5, do you think the Chiefs are going to make the playoffs this year?
I still believe they'll make the playoffs, yeah.
Okay. Now, let's do win-loss. They play the Colts this weekend.
Yeah, that's a tough game with how good the Colts have been. I say they win.
Okay. Then they are at the Dallas Cowboys.
They'll win that one as well.
Then they play the Houston Texans.
Another win.
Then they play the Chargers, who they lost to earlier in the season.
See, I don't think they'll lose both games to the Chargers, so I think they'll win that one as well. So that's 4 in a row.
At Tennessee.
And that's a win.
Broncos.
Lose.
At the Raiders.
Win.
All right. I don't think it's crazy.
Maybe the Colts is the one that's a little tricky.
Even so, though, you had them at 11. You lose 1, you go to 10. Now, you could have a 10-win team be held out of the postseason last year. It happened last year in the NFC, right, with the Seattle Seahawks. I remember one year, my Patriots, it was the Matt Castle year in 2008. They had 11 wins. 11 wins. They missed out in the postseason. So it's possible to have 10 wins or 11 wins and miss the postseason. But this Colts game is going to tell me a lot. If the Chiefs beat the Colts, they get to 6-5. They beat one of the better teams in the AFC. And then you look at the schedule and kind of how it happened with the Ravens, right? And the Ravens had a much bigger hole to climb out of. They were 1-5. You go, okay, I could see this schedule breaking up. I could see it getting easier, and they'll find their rhythm, right? If they beat the Colts. But if they lose and they fall to 5-6, the thing I wonder is where is the mental toughness going to be in that locker room? Because even though we've questioned the Chiefs at times last year and in the past 3 years, there is a huge difference in the spot that they're in now, this late in the year. Where Belichick used to say it all the time, and the Patriots used to say this all the time, the football season really doesn't start until after Thanksgiving. But in this case, how far behind the 8 ball are you going to be with 1 game left on the schedule before Thanksgiving? So I'm looking at Kansas City. They're not winning. Like, Stu, you don't think they're going to come on back and win this division, right?
No, I think that is done. I think that is Denver's pretty much in hand.
So right now, who would be are you taking both the Pats and the Bills in the AFC East, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Okay. So there's 2 spots. In the AFC North, who are you going to go, let's just say division, you're going to go Steelers or Ravens?
I'm going to go Ravens.
Okay. AFC South, you're assuming the Colts are going to win the division?
Yep.
Okay, so that's 4 spots. The AFC West, who wins the division?
Broncos,
and you have the Chiefs in.
Chiefs in.
So that's 6. So between the Chargers, the Jaguars, and the Steelers, who's going to be your last wild card team?
Chargers.
Okay. And I think it would make for a heck of a postseason. Because if you have the Bills, and we'll see if the Bills are going to win the division or not, but if you have the Bills and the Chiefs both on the road, but they still make the playoffs, no one's going to want to see those 2 teams come to your house. Yeah, you wouldn't. But it would make for one just bizarre kind of playoff where no one would have predicted before the year that both the Chiefs and the Chiefs could miss the playoffs. The Bills won't. I'd be very surprised, unless if Josh Allen gets hurt. But who would have thought that if the Chiefs and Bills were both in, that they would both be on the road to potentially start the playoffs if, in fact, they both do get in? Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Right now, if the playoffs started tomorrow, which they don't, you would have the Broncos as on the bye. They're 9-2. They'd be the 1. The Patriots would be the 2 seed, playing the Jaguars as a 7 seed. The Colts would be the 3 seed, playing the Chargers as a 6. And the Steelers would be the 4th seed, playing the Steelers of Pittsburgh would be playing the Buffalo Bills, who would be a 5 seed. So if the playoffs were tomorrow, Patriots welcoming in the Jaguars, who wins that game?
Patriots.
I would agree. Colts playing the Chargers in Indy. Who wins that game?
I think I'll go with the Colts on that.
Okay. Steelers playing the Bills. Who would win that game?
Bills would win.
Okay. So that would then set us up for Bills going to Denver and the Patriots playing the Colts.
Wow.
It sounds like this is 2005, in the NFL. It really does, just with the team names and all those things. And then Denver plays the Bills. Who would win?
I think the Bills still.
Patriots play the Colts. Who would win?
Wow.
In Foxborough right now.
Yeah. I think the Patriots.
So you'd have a Patriot-Bills AFC Championship game. Here's what we learned from this exercise. If you are the Buffalo Bills, and I know things haven't been all pretty for you this year, you are on both knees, as you go to bed at night, and you're looking up to God, and you're talking, and I don't get religious on this show, but you are talking to the football gods, and you are saying, please don't let Kansas City in the playoffs. because Kansas City is the only team that's been your kryptonite. Kansas City is the only team that keeps you up late at night, even if you don't have a great team this year. And the Bills don't have some great team this year that can prevent you from getting to the Super Bowl that you're going to have fear of. But if the postseason field is the Broncos, the Patriots, the Colts, the Steelers, the Chargers, and the Jaguars, just as long as Kansas City's not in there, it would be an unmitigated disaster. I don't care if it's on the road or not. I don't get to play 3 road games in the playoffs to get there if the Buffalo Bills don't get to the Super Bowl. When you have that quarterback, and for the last 4 or 5 years, the only team that's prevented you pretty much from getting to the Super Bowl, I know the Bengals beat them one year in the playoffs, were the Kansas City Chiefs. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll do a little onside, offside next. Standing by with the latest sports flash. Here he is, Justin Rock.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Hey, Zach, defense wins football games. The same could be true when it comes to protecting your retirement. Learn more about Advantage Gold today. Text GOLD to 85545 now and request your free gold investment kit. Visit AdvantageGold.com for terms, message, and data rates may apply. Monday Night Football later this evening. Cowboys and Raiders wrap up Week 11. Kickoff in Vegas set for 8:15 Eastern. Quinnen Williams acquired from the Jets over a week ago. Excited to make his Dallas debut.
I'm super excited. I'm like you said, man. I haven't played a game in a long little minute, so I'm super excited not only to play a football game, but to play for this organization, man. To play for this team, to play for the guys in our defensive line room, and also to play for the guys in this organization.
The Falcons have placed Michael Penix Jr. on injured reserve after suffering a potential season-ending knee injury against the Panthers. Jets head coach Aaron Glenn told the team today that Tyrod Taylor will start at QB in Week 12 against the Ravens. The Bengals' Trey Hendrickson doubtful for next week's matchup against the Patriots, according to head coach Zach Taylor. He's deemed week to week. And in the NBA, John Morant has a grade 1 right calf strain. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. With your sports flash at the bottom of every hour, I'm Justin Rock.
Call the Infinity Sports Network anytime. 888-710-4ISN. That's 888-710-4476.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
All right, it's time for a little onside, offside right here on the Infinity Sports Network. First, it's time to Ask the Pros, though, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INS Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. You can think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ah, my buddy Stu wearing his Notre Dame shirt today.
The hand-me-down from our friend Ryan Hickey.
Oh, wait, Hickey gave that to
Hickey
you?
gave this to me, yes.
Oh, my God. Did he give that to you after Notre Dame beat Penn State in the playoff, and then he officially gave away his Notre Dame fandom because he's also a Penn State honk?
Not short after. It's actually right after Notre Dame lost their second game of the year this season to Texas A&M. He gave me this in a nice little quarter-zip Notre Dame shirt that he did not want anymore.
Do you know what a Irish car bomb is, by the way?
That's like that's a drink, right? It's an alcoholic drink.
It's like Guinness, and you throw a little Irish cream in there, you drop it in, like a shot of it, and then you chug it. I'm at a bar this weekend.
Ooh.
Just watch the Notre Dame game. Little Notre Dame pit, watch the action. Anytime CJ Carr threw a touchdown, this one older gentleman, big Notre Dame fan, he would look at the bartender and he said, "Give me a CJ Carr bomb! Give me a four CJ Carr bombs on the table!" It was funny. CJ Carr bomb. You should get that. Guinness should give him an NIL deal. CJ Carr bomb. I like the sound of that. All right, anyway. Nico, look at him. Big time partier, Nico.
He knows. Yeah, he knows.
He knew what a car bomb was. Nico's like, you should see me on Long Island where I drink those car bombs. All righty, what do we got, Steph?
All right, so as we kind of talked last segment, the Chiefs, they had another disappointing showing. in front of a national audience yesterday, falling to the Broncos by a score of 22-19. KC is now 5-5 on the season, all the way down to 9th place in the AFC standings, making a wild card far from a guarantee at this point, especially when you consider they don't have tiebreakers against the Bills, Chargers, or Jaguars. Onside, offsides, the Chiefs will not win a Super Bowl within the next 3 seasons.
Just a little PSA. Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. The greatest quarterback head coach duo of all time is Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. And the greatest trio of all time for quarterback, coach, and tight end, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, Rob Gronkowski. All you little Chiefs fans that were sitting there with your 3 little Super Bowls, congratulations. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. Mahomes ain't better than Brady. Reed ain't better than Belichick. Kelsey ain't better than Gronk. But with that being said, I still have a lot of amount of respect for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you have a quarterback that is that good. Yeah, they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl this year. But the Chiefs will not win a Super Bowl within the next 3 seasons. I'm not willing to go that far. So I will still say offsides.
Offside.
But just remember who the GOATs are. All right? Just remember. I don't hear Nick Wright really parading himself around these days, talking about how Mahomes is better than Brady and Reed's better than Belichick and how Travis Kelce's the greatest tight end of all time. I don't hear little Nicky Wright anymore. Don't hear him on that stuff. All right, what do we got? Next one.
All right, after injuring his knee yesterday against the Panthers, Falcons quarterback Michael Penix Jr. is expected to miss the rest of the season. The specifics of the injury is reportedly a partially torn ACL. Penix, of course, suffered torn ACLs twice during his college career. Onsides, offsides, Michael Penix Jr. will go down as the worst quarterback taken in the first round of that 2024 draft.
I'll tell you, I thought they were going to lose that game yesterday, but I'll give credit to the Bears. Ben Johnson is getting Caleb Williams at a good level, and they made the throws when needed to late. So right now, I'd say Michael Penix Jr. will not be better than Caleb Williams. I know there's injuries this year, but Jaden Daniels took them to the NFC Championship game last year. So Michael Penix Jr. will not be better than one Jaden Daniels. Drake May, he looks like he's the MVP of the league right now. So forget about Michael Penix Jr. So it really comes down to Bo Nix. Bo Nix made the playoffs last year, going to make the playoffs this year. Michael Penix Jr. not better than him. Comes down to J.J. McCarthy and Michael Penix Jr. Now, Michael Penix Jr., something I never liked about him is when he's throwing to the sideline, the left sideline in particular, middle throws and short throws, and you saw it in the championship game to Will Johnson. Those are when he has a lot of turnovers. But I always said this about Michael Penix Jr. With all the shoulder and knee injuries that he had, and then it was miraculous how you leave Indiana, you go to Washington, and you become one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I always wondered if the injuries would catch back up to him again, and now they are. I know McCarthy doesn't look great, and McCarthy, he pulled the rabbit out of the hat before the Bears came marching right back down the field to put lipstick on a pig for a little bit for McCarthy. But I'll say now that Michael Penix Jr. is going to go down as the worst quarterback taken in the first round of the draft. I just don't trust the environment that he's in Atlanta. And now it's another injury, a knee injury. We don't know the extent of it, but he's already had 2 previous torn ACLs and a bunch of different shoulder injuries. Like, how much more can the body take? So I will say onside to that question.
Don't look now, but Bills quarterback Josh Allen is back in the MVP mix after his 6th touchdown performance in a win over the Buccaneers yesterday. Now on DraftKings, Allen has jumped ahead of Jonathan Taylor and Patrick Mahomes and sits at plus 475 to win the honors this year, behind only Matthew Stafford at plus 150 and your guy Drake May at plus 185. Onsides, offsides, Josh Allen will win the MVP this year.
I'm going to say offside because I don't know if he's going to win the division. If he wins the division, there's going to be a great case for him to win the MVP. But when you already won an MVP, and if your team doesn't get to a certain level, I think it's going to be tougher for you to win. He definitely should be in the conversation, right? He's the only reason why they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. But the idea, Bishop had a nice play too. He's been, forced a lot of turnovers as of late. But I think Josh is going to have to win the division right now. I just don't know if he will. So I'm going offsides on that when you ask me that Josh Allen will win the NFL MVP right now.
Offside.
In one of the surprises of the football Sunday, the Jaguars decimated the Chargers by a score of 35-6. It was a miserable game for quarterback Justin Herbert, who completed just 10 of 18 passes for 81 yards, had no touchdowns, and had a pick. On the season, Herbert has 19 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, but of course his career is marred by that 0-2 playoff record. Onsides, offsides, Justin Herbert will never be the top 5 quarterback he was expected to be when he was drafted.
I think Justin Herbert's really good. He had a stinker yesterday. Top 5, you got to be great. And I just haven't seen enough consistency. And now this is the second head coach that he's had. And I understand they made the playoffs last year, and then he stunk up the joint in Houston for that playoff game. And a day like yesterday is just unacceptable now, year 2 with Jim Harbaugh. So Justin Herbert will never be the top 5 QB he was expected to be when he got drafted. He's top 10. I'm not going to say top 5. So I will go on sides on that.
It was a disappointing performance for Kalen DeBoer's Crimson Tide on Saturday, narrowly losing to Oklahoma by a score of 23-21. The loss drops Bama from 4th to 10th in both the coaches and AP top 25 polls, which on paper would seemingly give them the last at-large bid if the College Football Playoff Committee follows suit tomorrow. Onsides, offsides, despite losing on Saturday, Alabama will win a playoff game this season.
I still think they are. They're still going to make the postseason. Alabama, they lost to Florida State in week 1. They just lost to Oklahoma. Since then, they did win 8 in a row after that loss to Florida State. They play Eastern Illinois and Auburn, whether they're in the SEC championship game or not, and I know they control their own destiny. If they're 10-2 entering that SEC championship game, Alabama is going to make the playoffs. And I think Alabama, Ty Simpson had a stinker. He gets that out of his system. Don't have another one. You should win a playoff game. So I will actually still say on sides on that one.
All right, sticking in the SEC, it was a roller coaster of emotions for Texas A&M against South Carolina on Saturday. They trailed the 3-win South Carolina team by a score of 30-3 at halftime, but the second half was a totally different story as the Aggies outscored the Gamecocks 28-0 in the second half, winning by a score of 31-30. Also this weekend, the team reportedly inked head coach Mike Elko to a long-term contract extension that'll make him one of the 10 highest paid coaches in the sport. Onsides, offsides, Mike Elko will get Texas A&M to a national championship game within the next 5 seasons.
It's a good question. That was an incredible comeback. Insane. That was 30-3. And Shane Beamer's walking off the field like he just won the national championship game and they lose in the second half. It was wild. They have so many resources there. You got to see what life's going to be like without Marcel Reed. They could absolutely win it this year. They're just such a well-rounded team. We'll just get A&M to a national championship? Yeah. If it was win it, I don't know if I'd say that. But get them? Yeah, I think he could get them to a national championship game in the next 5 years. I will go on sides there. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, the Eagles beat the Lions. The offense didn't perform well, but they started the week by beating the Packers. They finished the week by beating the Lions. How do we evaluate Philly? How do you evaluate the Detroit Lions? And then also, I have an unconventional thought about the Seattle Seahawks. Everyone's slamming Sam Darnold, right? Mono Sam, seeing Ghost Sam was back. He had 4 interceptions in a big game up against the LA Rams. I have one positive thing, though, to say if you're a fan of the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to give a lot of praise to the Rams, but I have something positive, even in the loss yesterday, to say about the Seattle Seahawks that I don't think you'll see coming. I'll tell you what that is when we're back in 5 minutes.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Let's get into 4 teams that are going to be a big part of the NFC playoff picture this year in the Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions, the LA Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks. We do have news on Lane Johnson, and it's unfortunate news if you are a fan of the Philadelphia Eagles, as the Eagles started the week by beating the Green Bay Packers and then beating the Detroit Lions, even with all the problems in between. Lane Johnson is expected to be out at least 4 to 6 weeks after suffering a Liz Frank sprain. That is via Ian Rappaport and Mike Garafolo. I thought I heard Schefter today say that it's going to be really tough for him to come back during the regular season. But the Philadelphia Eagles, they're going to win the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be in the postseason. And the Eagles are sitting there with an 8-2 record. They're scheduled the rest of the way. They play the Cowboys this upcoming weekend. Then they get the Bears. Then they have the Chargers. Then they have the Raiders. They got the Commanders. They got the Bills and the Commanders. So, like, even if they don't play great, you should be able to split between Dallas and Chicago. You should be able to split between the Chargers and the Raiders. You should be able to win one of the Commanders games. And if you just do that, you're going to be sitting there with 11 wins. Look at the schedule the rest of the way. You got 7 games left. Just go 3-4, and you end up having 11 wins. So I understand the number 1 seed is of utmost importance for Philadelphia, because when they're home in the playoffs, it's going to be so tough to beat them with that environment. And I've been to many Philadelphia Eagles playoff games, up against the Giants, up against the Packers, up against the Rams, up against the Commanders. It is so tough to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in that building. You know, the Falcons, the Vikings. It's nearly impossible to beat them in that building in the playoffs. But with that being said, I think the Eagles are a fascinating discussion. Now, like, they're going to be without Lane Johnson. Just get Lane Johnson back by the playoffs, and you're fine. But you look at Philadelphia, 2 years ago, they started 10-1. 10-1. And they were sloppy. People were complaining about the offense, bitching and complaining. Down the stretch, they win one game. They go to Tampa. They get annihilated in that playoff game. The following season, they didn't play great to start the year. People are saying Sirianni, including me, should be fired. And then they found a way to be the number 2 seed in the NFC. Lions get picked off a division round weekend where the Commanders beat them. They have a home NFC championship game. They smother the Commanders. Then they get to the Super Bowl, and they just drag Patrick Mahomes' ass up and down the field for 4 quarters and just embarrass them. They won the Super Bowl. Now, going into this year, we all knew Philadelphia was going to be a force. But when they blew that game to Denver, and then they answer back getting annihilated by the Giants, and I was at that game in the swamps of Jersey, and they're 4-2, and you didn't love their effort up against Dallas. They beat the Chiefs, but it was only by 3 points. They had to come on back to beat the Rams. They beat a decimated Tampa Bay team. You're looking at the Eagles, and you're like, don't really like what I'm seeing. And it's not as if they really impressed you against the Vikings. They then got revenge up against the Giants. But this past week, what the Eagles did was damn impressive. Now, I understand there's going to be a large contingent of Eagles fans that are still not going to be satisfied. And why is that going to be the case? Because you beat Green Bay 10-7, so the offense is only able to put up a measly 10 points. And then you followed it up with a 16-9 win up against the Lions, where the offense only able to put up a measly 16 points. With that being said, though, Jalen Phillips looks like a stud. I loved him at Miami. Vic Fangio obviously knows him well when Vic Fangio was the DC there, and then the Dolphins were so soft that they couldn't handle the tough coaching of Vic Fangio because Mike McDaniel, let's be real, McDaniel annoys the crap out of me. This guy wins, and he doesn't win a lot. Let's be clear. He wins this year. He acts like a jackass. You beat the Bills, you're rolling up to the elbow room, with your watch on and your expensive car, and you're rolling down the window, and your team beat the Bills, God bless you, but you go nowhere this year. And then yesterday, they're playing in Madrid. This dope and Mike McDaniel, I'm sorry. I understand, right? Don't call people names. We got to respect everybody, blah, 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 blah. But this guy McDaniel, at the end of the game, he goes for it on 4th down under 2 minutes to go. It's a tie game. You're in field goal range. Kick the field goal. And you're fortunate you're going up against a bad team. So you end up still winning the game in overtime because you're going up against the Commanders, and they have the walking wounded. And you still able to get the win. But then he's getting all cutesy. I saw he sneaked into the post-game press conference, and it was Ollie Gordon, the running back, the former Oklahoma State running back, that he's sitting there. He's like, oh, what do you think about the coaching? How great is the coaching that puts you in a position to have the day that you had today? Like, enough of this guy. Act like a head coach. Yeah, you could tell a lot by a coach just the way that they act. Like, if you're Belichick and you're sitting there and you're treating everyone like they're a jerk and you can't stand them, you got 6 Super Bowl rings. Even Bill Belichick, before he won the Super Bowls, like when he was his first or second year, he was at least a little chatty with the media. You got guys like Aaron Glenn who get too sensitive, and then guys like McDaniel that have no shame. But Mike McDaniel, geez Louise, I've had enough of him. I really have. But to his credit, he got the victory. We have breaking news.
We have breaking news.
We do.
On the Zach Gelb Show.
Does that have to do what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh.
It is college football coach related.
Has Lane Kiffin made a decision?
It is not Lane Kiffin. It is a coach that got...
I know what this is. James Franklin, head coach of Virginia Tech.
According to Pete Thamel, they are finalizing an agreement to be the next head coach of Virginia Tech Hokies.
There is a national talk show host that a lot of companies should be interested in hiring, if I may say so myself, that immediately predicted when James Franklin got fired that he would be the next head football coach at Virginia Tech. Now, Florida is going to try to wait for Lane Kiffin. I don't know what's going to happen there, but good for James Franklin. I know I've been one of the loudest critics of James Franklin. I said he turned Penn State the last few years into Participation State University, but even with all that kidding aside, James Franklin did a really good job at Penn State. But he got the program to a spot where it's national championship or bust this year. And not only did he failed miserably. You lose to Oregon, the team wasn't ready. Then Alec throws a pick at the end when you get it into overtime. You follow it up with 2 terrible performances up against UCLA and then Northwestern. And it was time to end that era in Happy Valley. With that being said, I've said for years, James Franklin is a good coach, not a great coach. So now you go to a spot in ACC country in Virginia Tech where no one's walking on in and saying, oh, James Franklin needs to win a national championship. But you have the ACC, which is wide open right now. Clemson's not feared as they once were. Florida State was back for about a sip of coffee. I don't know if Franklin was probably interested in Florida State, but what is he supposed to wait for them to see if they get the money together to can Mike Norvell? So the ACC is wide open. James Franklin will probably win an ACC championship at Virginia Tech. And if you go win 8, 9, 10 games a season at Virginia Tech, you don't need to win a national championship. You'll be a legend right there. The standard at Virginia Tech is not to win a national championship for James Franklin. It's to be a really good coach. And if you're a really good coach, you will be viewed as a great coach because of the school that you're at. That's the thing. He didn't need to go run to a Big Ten school. He didn't need to go run to an SEC school. Because even though he could do some good things, he would not win a national championship at a Big Ten school or an SEC school. So you go to a smaller conference. It's still the ACC. It's still a Power 4 conference. Virginia Tech obviously has a great history, but now they need a coach to get them back. And if you just win 8, 9, 10 games a season and you win an ACC here or there, or you win one, you will be viewed as a legend at Virginia Tech. It's a lot of times about fit. James Franklin, at the time that was needed at Penn State when he got hired, was a fit. Where this program was then trying to go after being good for years to then trying to be elite, he was not a fit because he's not elite. He's not an elite coach, but he's a very good coach. And now he could be a very good coach that could then get talked about like a great coach at a program like Virginia Tech. So this has been speculated about now for a week. Over the weekend, it was the worst kept secret. But it is official now that James Franklin, according to Pete Thamel, is the next head football coach at Virginia Tech. I know we were getting a little Lane Kiffin news there. I'm reading that like Lane Kiffin's family is going on a tour down south. They're going to Florida. They're going to LSU as he's still the head football coach of Ole Miss. But that's college football, obviously, in the year of 2025. And I'll tell you this. I truly don't know what Lane Kiffin's going to do right now. Like, Nico, I know we were talking about this yesterday as you digest it even more. Do you think Lane Kiffin's back at Ole Miss next year?
You know, I was just telling Stu this during the break. I don't understand why he can't win at Ole Miss. Like, I understand that there's more resources at LSU and Florida, but, like, we're not talking about Boston College here. This is a top 10 team in the country that plays in the SEC.
History. That's why. That's the way that it alters people's opinion.
Yeah, no, I get that. But, like, he has a great opportunity right now to make Ole Miss this great program in the SEC. I don't see why he would want to leave that.
So you think he stays at Ole Miss?
I do, yes.
Stu, do you think he stays at Ole Miss?
I don't think he stays. I think he goes to LSU.
Ooh. See, I would have agreed with you a few days ago. And maybe it's just because he just played Florida. And maybe that's why there's more speculation with Florida. But it does feel as if Lane to LSU, I'm not going to say that it's chilled. But you look at it, I predicted that Lane would be the next head football coach at LSU. A few weeks ago when LSU made the move to get rid of Brian Kelly from the Tiger family and Alston from the Tiger family. I remember saying Lane Kiffin right away. So maybe this is just, hey, a few weeks have gone by and more people are starting to talk about Florida. But Lane Kiffin, he gave an answer over the weekend, and we have this. He was asked, will you be at Ole Miss next season? And this is how he answered it. Go ahead.
Lane, read the story from Ross Dellinger this week that he had that sit down with you, and there was a really striking quote there at the end where you talked about picturing yourself being at the elite Blue Bloods, but you sort of changed, and you didn't think it was necessarily a place like Ole Miss, but you've sort of changed your way of thinking, and that maybe this is the last chapter. There's a lot of talk about you for coaching searches right now. Do you anticipate being the head coach at Ole Miss next year?
I love what we're doing here. Today was awesome, and I don't talk about that stuff. And really, to even talk about it right now would be so disrespectful to our players and how well they played today. We got a lot of things going here, doing really well, and I love it here.
I don't know. Sounds like a coach is leaving. Sounds like it's coach that is leaving. Here's the latest on Lane Kiffin, by the way. Now, I have not read this article. I'm reading it in real time right now, but it was just sent to me. On 3, Pete Nakos. Ole Miss is looking for clarity this week about Lane Kiffin's future with the Rebels, Pete Nakos reports. Members of Kiffin's family visited Gainesville Sunday and Baton Rouge Monday. Now, Brett McMurphy quote tweeted this, and he also works for On 3. And I had to verify that this was actually Brett Murphy because it didn't even sound like this was an actual tweet. If Lane Kiffin doesn't meet the deadline in terms of letting Ole Miss know that he's staying, Ole Miss would have to decide if it would allow him to coach in the playoffs, sources told On 3 Sports. If there's no resolution, it will be an agonizing decision for the Kiffins and the Rebels. Could you imagine? Think about this for a second. Could you imagine Ole Miss makes the playoff? Lane Kiffin doesn't tell Ole Miss if he's staying or going. So if you don't tell him that you're staying, it means that you're going. But you don't want to tell him yet that you're going. But by giving him no answer, whatever this deadline is, you would be sitting there and basically, without telling them that you're going. Right? Like if my bosses came to me and they said, hey, Zach, we want you to decide on your future. We want to let you know if you're staying here at the network or if you're going somewhere else, right? Like, let's just say that's the conversation. And if my boss has set a deadline of today's November 17th, let's just say it's November 18th. And, right, Chris Olivero and Jeff Sotolano and Ryan Hurley and David Meredith, they walk in with the suits, right? The suits walk into the studio, and I get out of the show at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and the suits are standing there on November 18th. They go, have you made your decision? You're going to stay or you're going to go? And I just go, haven't made up my mind yet. And walk past them, said, had a nice day, guys. If I can't make up my mind in the time frame that they give me, and I can't tell them that I'm staying, it means I'm going. So, with that being said, whatever this deadline is, and I haven't read the specifics of the story yet, but if you're telling me that there's a deadline, could you imagine if Lane doesn't tell him that he's staying, and that means he's either going to LSU or Florida, and it's, all right, process by elimination, and which schools are still going to not hire a coach as the dominoes are falling, and you'll be able to tell. Could you imagine they didn't go to Lane, who saved Ole Miss football, right? They're going to be in the playoffs. And could you imagine them saying, you know, you're not going to be our coach next year, so you can't coach in the playoff game? Like, what are we doing here? Does anyone care about the kids right now? Does anyone care about what about the children? Does anyone care about the children right now? You know, I hate to sound like a Karen, but does anyone care about the children? Oh, yeah. How much of a mess would that be? And I triple-checked this tweet from Brett McMurphy, America's college football insider with On 3 Sports, also known as Our Own or Report. It's a good job there, McMurphy. If Lane Kiffin doesn't meet the deadline, Ole Miss would have to decide if they would allow him to coach in the playoffs, sources told On 3 Sports. If there's no resolution, it will be an agonizing decision for the Kiffins and the Rebels. Like, if this guy is your coach and you're in the playoffs, why wouldn't you let him continue to coach even if he's leaving your ass at the end of the year? Like, it would be stupid. Kind of be like, let's say if, like, Nico was under contract. Let's just say Nico was under contract, right? And Nico was leaving at the end of the year. Now, let's just say December 28th, right? Nico's leaving. Let's just say Nico's leaving at December 28th. I don't know why that would be. Could you imagine if there was like a playoffs for sports radio and Nico's the host or the producer of the show that was in the playoffs? And, you know, you could go somewhere else because your contract's up at the end of the season. Let's say the regular season ended on December 28th. That's just for fun. I don't know. I'm throwing that date out there. And then January 1st rolls around. There's a playoff game. They go, Nico, we love what you did all throughout the year, but you're not telling us if you're coming on back and signing an extension, or maybe you're going to go somewhere else. So you can't produce or you can't host a show that you were part of. Like, what? You're good enough to get there, but because you may not stay, you can't continue the job that you started, at least for this season. That would be a mess. But that's college football in a nutshell. So good for James Franklin landing at Virginia Tech. Real quick, let me just wrap up my thought on the Eagles, because I started it, then we went on a Mike McDaniel tangent, and then we had the breaking news of James Franklin. Here's what I'll say about Philly. You beat the Packers, you beat the Lions to start and end the week. That's when it was bookend. I don't care how you got there. You beat two of the better teams in the NFC. The Philadelphia Eagles right now should be the favorite to go win the Super Bowl. They won the Super Bowl last year. I understand Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown don't like each other, right? Saquon Barkley is still one of the best running backs in football. Jalen Hurts, Super Bowl MVP. You got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith. This offense, no doubt about it, it should be better. Yeah, you beat the Packers 10-7. You beat the Lions 16-9. If your defense continues to play this way, it doesn't matter. It's not like the Eagles had, you look at last year, it's not as if the Eagles won the Super Bowl because of their offense. Like, sure, they put up a ton of points up against the Kansas City Chiefs, but they won that game because Patrick Mahomes was under duress for the entirety of the game. They won that game because Zach Bond had the interception before the half and they turned into points. They won that game because Cooper DeJean had the pick six. Eventually, your offense is going to have to play a little bit better, but as long as your defense is able to hold offenses like Detroit and Green Bay to those performances, you're not going to be that many points to win. And you have enough talent, even though if everyone hates their guts, let's just say, like if A.J. Brown can't stand Jalen Hurts, that even through all those problems, you should be able to survive them if the defense is that great. And the defense right now is looking superb. Now, I will say this, the officiating at the end of that game is horrible. Like, the Lions had no business winning the game, let me be clear. But the Eagles are about to give the ball back to Detroit. It's a 7-point game. The Lions are going to get the ball back, and they call them for pass interference when there was no pass interference. It was terrible. And if the Lions get the ball back and they score, you know the game is getting decided right there, because the Lions aren't kicking an extra point there. Dan Campbell's going to say, we're going for two, we're going for the win. So the officiating was horrendous. Both things can still be true. The officiating could be horrible, and the Lions also didn't deserve to win the game. But it doesn't mean that you should just gift the Eagles a first down in that spot. So the Eagles' offense is not good right now. The Eagles' defense is great. The Lions, you make Jared Goff throw the football more than 30 times, you're not going to win that many games. You're not. But if you would have told me yesterday that the Eagles would have only scored 16 points, I would have thought that the Lions would have won. If you would have told me on Monday last week that the Green Bay Packers only scored 7 points, I'd be sitting there. If the Eagles would only score 10 points, I'd be sitting there and saying that the Packers would win. But the fact that the Lions could only score 9 points against the Eagles' defense and the Packers could only score 7 points against the Eagles' defense shows you how great the defense is. Like, if the Eagles were only scoring 16 and 10, you wouldn't have thought that would be enough to beat Green Bay and Detroit, and they beat them both. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll do a news brief coming up at 4:40 p.m. Eastern time, but we come on back. Let's get into the Rams beating the Seahawks yesterday. And I saw something from Sam Darnold that obviously is discouraging, but maybe it's also encouraging. We'll get to that on the other side. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
So a lot of good games were on paper yesterday, entering the NFL Week 11, as you did have our 11th football Sunday of the season. You looked at some of those games on paper. Bills and Buccaneers you thought would be a good game. It did deliver, as Josh Allen had 6 total touchdowns in the game, 3 on the ground, 3 through the air. Buffalo defeats Tampa Bay 44-32. You then looked at a team like the Bears and the Vikings. You thought it'd be close. You thought it'd be sloppy. It delivered. Bears win that one 19-17. You were then looking around and you wanted to see what was going to happen between the Rams and the Seahawks, and the Rams beat the Seahawks 21-19. Sam Darnold had not one, not two, not three, but 4 interceptions. Then the Broncos and the Chiefs, a lot of intrigue on that one, and the Broncos beat the Chiefs 22-19. And then the Eagles, low-scoring affair, but they beat the Lions 16-9. Like, those are the 4 or 5 games. Eagles, Lions, Chiefs, Broncos, Seahawks, Rams, Bears, Vikings, and Buccaneers, Bills that you really circled. And you had a good slate of football yesterday. Like, really all around. There have been some dreadful football Sundays. And even the 9:30 or 9 o'clock game that was being played in Madrid, where, let's be real, why would you even want to watch that? That game could have been played in my backyard yesterday, and I would have shut the curtains. I had no interest in watching Dolphins and Commanders. At least it was a 3-point game in overtime. Panthers, Falcons, 3-point game in overtime. Bills, Buccaneers, 44-32, Buffalo wins. Even Texans and Titans were close, 16-13. Bears beat the Vikings by 2. Packers beat the Giants by 7. Steelers crushed the Bengals 34-12, but Rodgers got hurt. Jaguars crushed the Chargers, surprising 35-6. Rams beat the Seahawks 21-19. 49ers unload on the Cardinals 41-22. Ravens just beat the Browns. You see Shador Sanders play 23-16. Broncos just beat the Chiefs by 3, 22-19. And then the Eagles, Lions, I know the officiating was a story at the end, but the Eagles were the better team. They beat the Lions 16-9. Like, you look at the football Sunday yesterday. We haven't had that many Sundays like that where the games are that close. Whether you think the football is good or not is a different story, but at least there were close games. With that being said, though, I look at the Seahawks and the Rams. That was a game that I really circled because I know what I think of the Rams. I said last year the Rams were my Super Bowl pick. I walked into this season, wasn't that concerned with all the Stafford injuries. When you have Puka Nacua, when you add in Devontae Adams, when you have Kyron Williams, you got a coach like McVay, and you got a defense with Fisk, with Verse, with Turner, with Young. I think the Rams are one of the best teams in football. But I went into that game looking at the Rams and having so much respect for the Rams, and then it's the Seahawks. And I've been blown away by the Seahawks this year. After getting rid of both Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, and you still have Jackson Smith and Jigba, and he's a stud. And the fact that he's been able to take that next step without those two guys, and he's been the best wide receiver in football. And you got 2 fine running backs like Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker are not going to be top 5 backs in the league, but they're a nice 1-2 punch. And you got a defense that's just playing lights out. They're kicking ass. They're taking aim. That front four is as good of a front four as you'll find in the NFL. You got a coach in Mike McDonald. It's not like he was bad last year. They were 10-7. They missed out in the playoffs. And they walked into yesterday, and they had a 7-2 record. But what was everyone's question walking into yesterday? What was Sam Darnold going to be? Because Sam Darnold had one of the great redemption stories that you ever see with the Minnesota Vikings last year. But he had Jefferson, he had Addison, he had Hawkinson, he had Jones, and he had a great coach in Kevin O'Connell. Great offensive coach in Kevin O'Connell. Now you go to Seattle, you take some pieces away. He's still balling out. And you were wondering if Sam Darnold was going to be the Sam Darnold in Minnesota up until the last 2 weeks of the season when he dribbled down his leg up against the Detroit Lions and then continued to dribble up against the LA Rams. Like, could you see Minnesota Sam that you were seeing so far in Seattle then not be the last 2 weeks of Sam Darnold's tenure in Minnesota pop back up in a big spot? And the big spot yesterday, Sam Darnold, he was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. 4 interceptions. And I know that that's a game where probably most people are going to say what? That's why the Seahawks have limitations. That's why Sam Darnold's never going to be viewed as a great quarterback. That's why Sam Darnold's not going to be a stud. And if you say that, I can't really tell you you're wrong. I can't sit here and say, hey, you know what, Nico, you're not a believer in Sam Darnold that he could win a Super Bowl. You know what, you're an idiot and a moron and a dope. You're probably right. But think about this. Even with all the interceptions, and even with all the turnovers, and as offensive of a game that Sam Darnold played, at the end, they were still lining up for a 61-yard field goal to win it. Imagine if that kick goes in. If that kick goes in, what are we saying? Oh, Mike McDonald's a great coach. Oh, even though Sam Darnold was horrible, when he needed to, he got the team in field goal range. Oh, the Seahawks are sitting there. They're now 8-2. No, like, you're talking about how bad Sam Darnold was, but we're probably crushing the Rams. You let a quarterback throw 4 interceptions, and you can't, forget just not beat him. You didn't blow him out. That's what the conversations are today. That's what they would have been if that kick goes in. But since the kick didn't go in, it's talked about in the way where Sam Darnold was horrible. And I'm not making any excuses. Sam Darnold was horrible in the game. But if I'm a Seahawks fan, which I'm not, I wonder what the Seahawks fan is saying today. Because there's some fans that tell it how it is, and they're too negative. And then there's some fans that even when you have a bad day, they try to spin it into a positive. And I wonder, and I'll ask this to Nico and Stu, do you think the Seahawks fan today is sitting there and saying, hey, Sam Darnold showed us why the Vikings moved on? Or do you think they're sitting there and saying, guys, we had a quarterback play as bad of a game as he's ever played in the NFL. We had a quarterback throw 4 interceptions. We're going up against one of the best teams in the league, and our quarterback had his worst day, and we only lost the game by 2 points. And if our kicker makes what would have been a ridiculous 61-yard field goal, we win the game. Do you think the Seahawks fan is at all, even though their quarterback was dreadful yesterday, a little bit positive because the quarterback did everything wrong that he could have, and at the end of the game, they still had a chance to hit a 60-something yarder to go win it? I just wonder how it's getting spun. Now, Stu, your team does a lot of losing, so I think it's easy to go to you. How would you spin this today if you were a Seahawks fan? Would you say the quarterback stinks, he throws 4 interceptions, or would you say, hey, 4 interceptions, we still almost beat one of the best teams in the NFL?
I think it's the latter because, again, if he had been like mid or struggling for most of the year, okay, maybe this would be like the death nail. Like, okay, Sam Darnold's not the guy, 4 interceptions, big game against a good team. But because of what he's done so far this season, I think it's just one game, and you're going to say, okay, he had that bad game, but we didn't get blown out by 28, 35 points. Mm-hmm. We lost a close one.
Nico, how would you be talking about this?
Again, I'm similar to Stu in the fact that my football team's done a lot of losing, so I'd just be happy about the fact that they're 7-3. And to your point, yeah, I mean, listen, he didn't look good, but they only lost by 2. So if he just cleans up the turnovers, they should be fine.
So the remaining schedule for Seattle: Tennessee, nothing that you can really impress there. You play Minnesota. I get it. It's a team last year. Nothing you can really impress there. You're at the Falcons. They suck, and their coach should be fired. Nothing you can impress there. Then you get a stretch. We're in back-to-back weeks. And, it's a Sunday, I believe, into a Thursday. So in a 5-day stretch. You have the Colts, and then you got the Rams. That's a spot for Sam Darnold. Panthers and 49ers end the year. 49ers are good, but the Panthers, I know that they got to win yesterday. But those are the 2 spots. And even if you beat the Colts or the Rams, what's going to be the reaction? The Colts, maybe the record's a little bit inflated. Or the Rams, you lost them the first time, then you beat them the second time. So I don't know, outside of that stretch with the Colts or the Rams, if Sam Darnold could do much to shift the public perception about him. And I understand the fans that sit there and say after yesterday, 4 interceptions, you can't do that. You're a quarterback that, yes, you do put up good numbers now, but in the big spots, you just fade and you end up crumbling and you're not good enough to go win those games. That's fair. But I think part of me says 4 interceptions and you still almost won the game. Just throw 2, right? Like, I'm not even saying throw none. Just throw 2, and you probably just throw 3, and you probably win that football game yesterday. So in a weird way, I thought I would be crushing Sam Darnold today. I actually think the Seahawks have a heck of a team, and they could win a game or 2 maybe in the postseason, even with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Big Friendly is in California. He's next up on the Zach Gelb Show. Big Friendly, what's shaking?
Zachary Doodah. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let Big Friendly put some reality in it. No matter what that kick, if it was straight, it was short. McDaniel burned 20 seconds he needed in that last drive. They were confused. Now, Zachary, I'm going to come to your table, I'm going to be polite, and I'm going to come with facts.
Okay.
The Rams did not have a great game yesterday.
You're bringing any food to this table if you're going to come and eat at my
table?
I
can bring what you want. What you want? What you want? Some Italian? You want some Mexican? You want some Greek? What you want? I got you.
I don't discriminate against food. Whatever you want to bring, as long as there's not mushrooms or avocado in it, my stomach agrees with it.
Hey, they don't call me Big Friendly for nothing.
Continue, though.
Here's the thing. Sam Darnold had a bad game statistic-wise, but he still had a great managed game-wise because Daddy Cool touched on it this morning. Even though Sam Darnold threw 4 picks, he threw some great passes. What they're not talking about today is the Rams defensive backs that have been the Achilles heel so far actually coming to play when it counted. And Zachary, you're right. Seattle has been kicking ass and taking names.
Mm-hmm.
Their pen ran out of ink yesterday.
Now, let's be real. I have said in this segment, I think the Rams are better than the Seahawks. I'm just saying, 4 interceptions, and you only beat them by 2 points and almost lost at the end. I'm just curious to see what happens when they play again at the end of the season. And then also, Big Friendly, probably when you guys meet up in the postseason. But you look at it, the only if I'm a Rams fan, right, the only team that I would be intimidated by playing are the Philadelphia Eagles. That's it.
See?
Like, no one in the NFC North, Green Bay, Detroit, nope. I'm not intimidated.
No.
Buccaneers, no. Seahawks, no. 49ers, other division teams, and you respect them. But that's the only team. And you guys blew that game to Philly. You should have beat Philly at their own house.
Zachary. Champions don't run from anybody. The Eagles are exactly who the Rams want when it counts. Now, listen.
Do you, though? You lost to them last year, too.
Yeah, hey, listen. You can't keep running because someone beat you. And here's the thing, Zachary, and let's just be brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetically, if the Rams were to make it to the playoffs and they don't play the Eagles, what's everybody going to say?
Rams
but
Super
you
Bowl.
didn't play the Eagles.
Now who cares?
So I still want that. But, Zachary, you're a Patriots fan.
Yes.
And you can let me go after this. Answer this question. You're a Patriots fan. In all those Super Bowl runs, did the Patriots not have some nail-biters where they should have lost the game but still won?
Yeah.
So that's just the past.
We also lost
man,
some that we
and
should have won.
You have a great day.
Yeah. You got it. By the way, Big Friendly, and you know I love you.
Did you see the dance?
I don't think anyone has called me Zachary in like 20 years.
Did you see the dance?
What dance?
Oh, okay. You got because I lost to Daddy Cool, and I had to put on the little sweater.
Is Perloff Daddy Cool?
Yeah, Daddy Cool Perloff.
Oh, you had to. Oh, yeah, that's right. You had to do a dance.
Yes, in a little sweater. So they do have it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could ask Kaplan or somebody, they do got it. They were showing it today. You're going to enjoy it.
Gotcha. You got it. Big Friendly, thanks so much. Have a great day. Remember during the pandemic when that girl was like crying about and I'm snacking or whatever? I forget what it was. There was like some girl crying over that. They made like a remix of it. That's probably Big Friendly having a dance after his Rams lost to the Eagles. Big Friendly. Always love Big Friendly when he calls into the show. We do have breaking news. The NFL suspending Bengal star wide receiver Jamar Chase 1 game for unsportsmanlike conduct after he was caught on video spitting on Steelers defensive back Jalen Ramsey. Barring a successful appeal, Chase is now set up to miss Sunday's game versus the Patriots. Now, NFL, I need the league office to do me a favor. I know you don't like the Patriots. Jamar Chase, Patriots might beat him even with or without Jamar Chase. Let's expedite this appeal process and make sure that he's not on the field come Sunday. All right? That's the bottom line. If my team get advantage, I'll take my advantage. And I don't care what people say. But it's absolutely the right move. You cannot spit on another human and not get a punitive action. Now, when Jalen Carter did it, they said since he got ejected right at the start of the game, that served as his 1-game suspension. Jalen Ramsey and the Jamar Chase situation happened right at the end of the game. So Jamar Chase should definitely be out for this game coming up on Sunday up against the Patriots and the Bengals. And if the Patriots win that, oh my God, they'd be 10-2. Nika, how many wins do the Giants have this year?
2.
Stu, how many wins do your Raiders have this year?
Just 2. They have a game tonight, though, so maybe it's 3 after tonight. But
okay.
They have 2 right now.
So that's 4.
Yeah.
Justin Rock, who do you root for?
Unfortunately, I'm a Jets fan. So not any
got?
better than anybody else.
How many wins you guys have? 3?
I think we're up to 2, which is way more than what I was expecting the way the things were going the first 5 weeks of the season.
5. You 3 guys combined have 6 wins. My team has 9 wins. Oh, my God.
Never fun being a Jets fan.
Let's get a Titans fan in here. Still not enough. All righty, we're coming up back. We will react more to this Jamar Chase situation on the other side. Do a little college football next. Update time first. Here is Justin Rock.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Hey, Zach, Progressive Commercial Insurance protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. James Franklin has a new home. Pete Thamel reports that Franklin and Virginia Tech finalizing an agreement for him to take over as head coach. Lane Kiffin watch is officially on, too. Ole Miss reportedly looking for clarity on Lane's future in Oxford. According to NOLA.com, LSU officials arranged a plane to pick up members of the Kiffin family to give them a tour of Baton Rouge today. The family made a trip to Florida on Sunday. NFL Shedeur Sanders, less than stellar regular season debut against the Ravens. 4 for 16, 47 yards and a pick. Sanders postgame knew he left a lot to be desired.
I don't think I played good. I don't think I played good at all. I think it's a lot of things, we need to look at, during the week, go and just get comfortable, even throwing routes, with Jerry and throwing routes with all those guys.
Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski adding Dylan Gabriel remains in concussion protocol. The Bengals' Jamar Chase suspended one game for unsportsmanlike conduct after spitting on Jalen Ramsey yesterday. Bengals and Pats next Sunday, and Giants rookie linebacker Abdul Carter reportedly benched during their opening drive yesterday after sleeping through a walkthrough last week. With your Sports Flash, I'm Justin Rock.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Square. More than 4 million neighborhood businesses run on Square. To learn more, go to square.com or just stop by your favorite local business. See you in the neighborhood Square. The Cowboys and Raiders close out Week 11 tonight on Monday Night Football. Dallas is 3-5-1 on the year with the record of just 1-4 away from home. And the Raiders, meanwhile, are 2-7, losing 7 of their last 8 games. So Jamar Chase has been suspended for a game. The NFL suspending Bengals star wide receiver Jamar Chase 1 game for unsportsmanlike conduct after he was caught on video spitting on Steelers defensive back Jalen Ramsey. Barring a successful appeal, Chase is now set to miss Sunday's game versus the New England Patriots. You just can't do that. They're jawing at the end of the game. Jamar Chase spits on him. Jalen Ramsey, deservedly so, punches him. That's another thing. Jalen Ramsey, I don't know if this has been talked about. He shouldn't receive any punishment. Like, he was ejected. Usually when that happens, you're going to get fined. He should not get fined. Like, how else do you want someone to react to a grown man spitting on you? Like, if Nico and I were having a conversation, and we were having a heated conversation, and Nico then hocked a loogie at me, Nico would be on the floor. I'd knock his ass out. That's just what would happen. Or I would try to knock his ass out. Nico does have, like, a very muscular chin. Steel chin, I think, right?
Only body part that shows any type of muscle, though.
Yeah, I wonder why. Every time I see Nico, he's eating pasta or something. I walked into the producer's room for a second. I go, what do we got? Garlic bread coming out of the board?
It smells good in here.
Oh, it smells delicious. I did the Simpson meme. I walked in, put my hat down, then walked and smelled, and then walked right out because I would have started to eat Nico's garlic bread and rigatoni alla vodka. Hey, you bring that stuff into work. It's $4.50. $4.50 right now. You hungry?
Yeah.
Okay. So
I skipped breakfast this morning.
Is this dinner for you, or is this just a snack before then you get home?
No, I'll have dinner later once I get home at like 8 o'clock.
You got penne alla vodka at $4.50. And you're going to have more dinner after that. How are the microwaves looking around here? They usually look disgusting.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, they're not great.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would not microwave food here. That's just me. I don't know what diseases you would get. Let's hear from Jalen Ramsey. This is what happened, which led to him getting ejected. This is Jalen Ramsey of the Steelers.
He spit on me, so it's up. I don't give a about football after that. Respectfully, I'm always gonna be all for trash talk and stuff like that. I actually enjoy that part of the game. I think people know that. But and that's what we was doing. I mean, after the first one, the first little thing, the play before, he tried to like crack block me or whatever. You know what I mean? I got up off that, and then we got up talking or whatever, and he snatched my mouthpiece off my face mask. And then that's when I pushed his face mask, and then we, whatever. That was just a little scuffle. But the refs told us right there, like, hey, y'all chill, no more of this. Cool, so, you know, I'm knowing, like, you know, just talk shit, but let's keep it clean so we, you know, everybody's staying in, whatever. The next play, same shit. We was talking shit for real, which I'm cool with. And then, yeah, as soon as he spit, it was that. I ain't gonna tolerate that part of it.
I don't blame Jalen Ramsey whatsoever. Let's hear Jamar Chase, who now has been suspended for a game. He denied spitting on Jalen Ramsey.
He was saying that you spit on him. Did you spit on him?
I ain't never opened my mouth to that guy.
So what do you think prompted the reaction from him?
Well, he don't like some of the words I told him.
What are you saying?
I ain't spit on nobody.
I never opened my mouth to that guy. And then you talk about how you're talking to him. I know he meant it from spitting, but come on. There's Jalen Ramsey's in the right. Jamar Chase is looking like a clown. I'm sorry. There's cameras everywhere. We have 3,000 angles watching this game. You don't think we're going to see the spit fly out of your mouth onto Jalen Ramsey? Don't give me the crap of, oh, I didn't spit on him, and then, oh, you'll probably say in the appeal, oh, I was just talking and spit just so happened to come out of my mouth. Like, give me a break. Stupid. And he deserves a game suspension. Real quickly, some quick college football hitters. Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin. We talked about it in the last segment. I think it's a really good fit for Virginia Tech. I think it's a really good fit for James Franklin. The future of Lane Kiffin right now is unclear. Family's been touring Florida. Family's been touring Baton Rouge. We'll see what he ends up doing there. If right now you put a gun to my head, I will say that Lane leaves Oxford, Mississippi, and he will not be the head football coach at Ole Miss next year. And I think it's a shame if he does, but I can understand why you would go to a Florida. If it's between Florida and LSU, I would take LSU. But I could see why he would then maybe say, I'll go to Florida or LSU. But be careful, because the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And we saw Penn State. What are they going to do? Mike Elko just signed an extension. They had that incredible comeback then. They were down by 27 points at halftime, and they still end up finding a way to win the game. Elko is officially extended. So you had Matt Rule get extended. Signetti gets extended. So the candidates are just shrinking for Penn State. To me, it should be either Eli Drinkwitz or Brian Hartline. Could it be a Pat Fitzgerald? I guess that's possible. I see some people are speculating that it may be Matt Campbell. I don't really get Matt Campbell. I don't. I think the guy's a really damn good coach at Iowa State. But a few years ago, he ran from expectations when his team didn't win the Big 12 and they flopped in a season. And he said, oh, my expectations is never win a conference championship. You go to Penn State, and I like to see what you could do with some resources. Like Campbell's a really good coach. But the next coach that goes into Penn State, the expectation is going to be to win a national championship. That's what it is. So you can't be approaching it the same way that you did in some of your shortcomings, even though you've had a lot of success at Iowa State. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a timeout as we get ready to close out Week 11 tonight of the NFL season with the Cowboys and the Raiders. That's a game that's going to keep everybody up, let me tell you. That should be spectacular. We will do a little studs and duds. We'll take a look back at the weekend that was in college football and the NFL. Coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. Zach Gelb here with you on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a look back at the weekend that was in college football and the NFL with a little studs and duds.
On the Zach Gelb Show, we're looking for studs.
Back to pass. Bosa picked up. Deep shot. Jefferson. Yes!
But sometimes we have to tolerate the duds.
They stink.
Lamar takes the snap, rolls to the right, throws, complete. No! Dropped it. Mark Andrews hit him in the head.
Now for the moment you've all been waiting for.
And here we
Welcome. It's time for Studs and Duds.
Notre Dame had one last test in trying to make the college football playoff. They still play Syracuse after their victory up against Pitt. They still had Stanford, but the last test was Pitt. Right after losing the first two games of the season, Miami against A&M, they knew they had to win out. You beat Purdue, you beat Arkansas, you beat Boise State, you beat NC State. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Who cares? All right, USC, always a good rivalry game. You beat them. They were in the top 25 and still are. Then you beat Boston College. Who cares? You beat Navy. You blew them out. Who cares? But then you're playing Pitt at Pitt's place. Pitt's in the top 25. They're moving back in the right direction. You're still expected to win this game by 10.5 points. I think that was the spread. And you beat up on the Pittsburgh Panthers by a score of 37-15. If Notre Dame somehow loses against Syracuse or Stanford, it'd be one of the biggest choke jobs in the history of college football. But for the second year in a row, Notre Dame should be in the college football playoff. But entering this game, they have a freshman defensive back by the name of Tay Johnson. And he had 3 interceptions on the season. And Stu was raving about him last week. We were talking about some Notre Dame players that we should reach out to Notre Dame to try to get them on the show. And one of the 5 or 6 that we were discussing were Tay Johnson. And early on in the game, he had a pick 6. He had a little bit of a house call as Notre Dame secured another victory, as I think it punched their ticket to the college football playoff as long as they just take care of business up against Syracuse and Stanford.
Heinzel's got the ball, throws underneath, picked off in midfield, intercepted by Notre Dame. It's going to be a pick 6 across the 20, 10, 5, touchdown. Tay Johnson takes it home. 13-0 Notre Dame on back-to-back plays. The Irish are in the end zone.
Stud.
Nico?
All right, I'm going to head down to South Beach and go with Miami head coach Mario Cristobal.
Really?
Now, the
my
reason
God.
is because Miami
Can he win a big game?
They lose the game to Louisville, and then they have another loss to SMU 2 weeks later. But if you look at what they've done the last couple of weeks, they blew out Syracuse, they blew out NC State, and after the loss to SMU, it seems like everybody kind of forgot about Miami. But he's done a nice job righting the ship. Now, I know that those two teams are not world beaters by any means, but you could have easily lost the locker room. The guys could have given up on you, but Cristobal has kept his team in the hunt, and he talked about the dominant win Saturday night.
The way you play the game, certainly it screams, right, loudly. You know, going into the fourth quarter, I mean, what can you say about the defense? The opponent was held to under 100 total yards. There were 0 points on the scoreboard, and it wasn't like we put in just 2s. I mean, we put in everything that comes after that.
Stud.
Now, Stu, I don't want to crush Nico here. I like Nico. I'm one of Nico's biggest supporters, if I'm just being honest. With that being said, Nico, we only get 3 of these studs, right? Only 3. All the things that happen in college football. Can I throw a little challenge flag? Do we think Mario Cristobal blowing out NC State is deserving of a stud with all the things that happened this weekend in college football?
It's probably not where my head would have gone first, but I don't know. I mean, they won. If they stayed in the playoff mix, it's good.
Dud.
All right. You're being nice. I'll let you be nice. You're a nice guy. I'm not. Go ahead.
All right. I will go down to Athens for mine, and Texas versus Georgia was one of the 2, games of the week that we were kind of looking forward to. And Gunnar Stockton, I thought he had a really nice performance. He outplayed Arch Manning. Stockton completed 24 of 29 passes, 229 yards, had 4 passing touchdowns, and he also had a rushing touchdown. This was his 5th. This was a rushing touchdown, his 5th total touchdown of the game.
The Dogs 3rd and goal from the 4. 3 tight ends. Josh McCray, I formation, fake the toss. Gunner rolls to the left, bootleg, wide open to the end zone. Can he get there? You bet he can. Touchdown, Gunner.
Stud.
Alrighty, let me get to my NFL stud. How about the Buffalo Bills? Josh Allen makes you want to shout. That was a back-and-forth game. I'm thinking to myself, hey, that could go either way. And then Josh Allen just became Josh Allen, and Bishop had a nice play as well in that football game as the Buffalo Bills do defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by a score of 44-32. And in the contest, Josh Allen, 3 passing touchdowns, 317 yards through the air, and he had 3 rushing touchdowns as well on 6 carries for 40 yards. So that's 6 total TDs, for one Josh Allen. Let's hear his 5th and 6th touchdowns of the day to secure the Buffalo Bills a 44-32 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
3 receivers left. Knox on the right. Cook to the right of Allen. The shotgun. Play clock down to 3. Here's the snap. Allen going to run it over the right side. Looking for the end zone. And the beast is in once again for a 5-yard touchdown run. It's a 5-touchdown day for Josh Allen. Allen back to pass. Now going to tuck it and run as he's looking for the end zone. And the surge pushes him in for his 6th touchdown of the game. He is a beast with a capital B. He is a scoring machine. He's unbelievable. He has tied his career high in a football game.
Stud. And he becomes the first player in NFL history with multiple games of 3+ passing touchdowns and 3+ rushing touchdowns in the same game. So, how about that? All righty. Next one, Nico.
All right, how about Brock Purdy, 49ers quarterback? There was so much talk about when he came back, how would Mac Jones do as the 49ers starter, but I think Purdy quieted the doubters for sure yesterday. A dominant performance over the Cardinals. Right, but 19 for 26, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yep, 2 touchdowns to his tight end, George Kittle. And this is how the 2nd touchdown to George Kittle sounded that put the game pretty much out of reach for San Francisco.
3rd and goal from the 4. CMC back into the game.
Can they beat man coverage?
Purdy to throw. Again floats it into the end zone. Kittle for the 2nd time. Touchdown 49ers.
Stud. All righty, I'm going to see if I can find something wrong with all of Nico's selections today. I didn't love the first 2, if I'm just being honest. So your duds better be good. All righty, what do you got, Stu?
All right, Zach, I hope you like mine. My next one, my NFL stud, is Bryce Young, the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. And the Panthers, they won in overtime yesterday against the Falcons 30-27. Bryce Young completed 31 of 45 passes, 448 yards passing, 3 passing touchdowns. And the Panthers have been kind of a nice story this year. They're now 6-5. You had Rico Dowdle kind of coming out.
Can you believe they got 6 wins, the Panthers? 6
would not
wins.
have expected that. No
they
chance.
They don't feel like a 6-win team.
They don't.
Oh, that's crazy.
Should be 7 if they could beat the Saints.
Yeah, no, for sure. But, geez, 6 wins for the Cavs. Like, let's see how many seasons we have to tally up. Oh no, okay. It was bad, but like 5-11, 5-11, 5-12, 7-2, 2-15. 2023, 2024. 2024 they were 5-12. 2023 they were 2-15.
Wow.
Got 6 wins now.
6 wins.
Stu, there's hope for your Raiders.
Maybe. I hope so. Bryce Young, though, just a really nice performance. And he had this 36-yard touchdown pass in the middle of the game to Xavier Legette.
Bryce the snap. Time of the pocket. Going deep. Down the left side for Legette. Makes the catch. Touchdown. Carolina. You wanted the big play. You got the big play. Giddy up. 36-yard touchdown catch from Xavier Legette.
Stud. Alrighty, I will get to my college football dud. South Carolina. You're up at halftime by 27 points. 27 points. I think the stat was entering that game since 2004. SEC games where teams trailed by 27 points. They were 0 for 286, I think it was. I believe it was that. And then Texas A&M comes on back and they win the game. I couldn't believe that. It was 30-3. Shane Beamer's running off the field at halftime like he won the national championship. And we're all getting ready to pounce and slam A&M, and they punch him in the mouth in the second half, and they end up winning the game 31-30. Let's listen up. This was E.J. Smith's 11-yard touchdown run to give A&M the lead, and it officially made the Gamecocks of South Carolina good.
Run to the right side, run into the end zone. Touchdown, Aggies. We are tied. E.J. Smith.
Dud. All right, Nico, let's see how you're going to mess this one up.
All right, let's see if I can pass the test here. I'm going to stick in the SEC, and I will go with Caitlin DeBoer, Alabama head coach.
Don't love it, but okay. Go ahead.
The Crimson Tide last year went 9-4, didn't make the playoffs, obviously. Now this year, 8-2, should still get in, but I don't want to compare DeBoer to Nick Saban because he's not going to be Nick Saban, not supposed to be Nick Saban. But the expectation for Alabama needs to be higher, and it just hasn't been good enough so far for DeBoer's time in Tuscaloosa. He was the clinching play for Oklahoma as they sealed the 23-21 road victory at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Into the backfield now, he brings Hill. Under a minute. 4th and 6. Snap, Simpson looks left. Throws out to the left. It's broken up. Incomplete. Peyton Bowen knocked it down. Peyton Bowen knocked it down. Alabama's got an Oklahoma problem.
Dud.
Here's why I don't love it. I think you should have given it to Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson was the reason why they lost that game. He was a turnover machine. And then also, it's tough for me to crush the coach when, yes, they got embarrassed week 1, and that was on the coach. Then they won 8 in a row against that gauntlet of a schedule before dropping one. They still play Eastern Illinois and Auburn. If they lose to Auburn, then crush the coach. But they'll be in the college football playoff, and they'll have a chance to go win a national championship this year. I still think that. But I put that one more on Ty Simpson than Kalen DeBoer. That's why I didn't love it.
They've had some issues at Jordan Hare recently, too, because you have to think 2023 was the 4th and 31, and then 2021 they had to go to quadruple overtime just to beat Auburn. So that game's going to be interesting in a couple weeks.
Don't get me wrong. It's the Iron Bowl rivalry weekend. Anything could happen. You lose that game to Auburn when Auburn fired their coach weeks ago, and DJ Durkin beats you, and he puts the nail in the coffin in the Alabama season, you should then be embarrassed. I would be very surprised if Eastern Illinois and Auburn, forget Eastern Illinois, but I'd be surprised still if Auburn beats Alabama. That would just be me. All righty, Stu, what do we got?
All right, let me ask you a question, Zach. Utah played Baylor over the weekend, and if I told you that Utah came in with Devin Dampier completing 6 of 13 passes for 80 yards, and Baylor had Sawyer Robertson complete 29 of 58 passes for 430 yards.
Ooh.
Who do you think would have won that game?
Well, I know that Dave Aranda's the coach at Baylor. No, I don't want to be a jackass here. I would think that the Baylor Bears would have won.
Well, you are wrong because
yes, I know I am.
Utah, yes. Utah, they ran for 380 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground. They actually benched Dampier and went to Bert Ficklin for he's the backup quarterback. They brought him in for a little, and Ficklin ran for 166 yards himself. Wayshawn Parker had 129 yards and a touchdown. Nakari Rodgers had 27 yards, 2 touchdowns. As a team, just absolutely dominating on the ground. And here was one of those Ficklin rushing touchdowns, a 74-yarder.
Bird Ficklin's going to keep it himself. There he goes again, 35-40, 45-50, stiff arm 40, 35-30, 25-20, 15-10-5, touchdown. You got to be kidding me. He's done it again. Bird Ficklin, 74 yards.
Nico.
Dud.
Hey, sleep there? You're on the stew diet today? No wonder I eat in rigatoni alla vodka and you delayed on things. It's amazing now you're looking back at those numbers, Stu. And Aranda's going to get fired. 430 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and they also had 133 yards on the ground. If you would have just said, hey, Utah only had 103 passing yards, I would have said there's no way that Baylor would have lost the game. And not only lost the game, they lost 55-28. It wasn't even close. That's wild. Alrighty, so those are the college football duds. Now let's get to the NFL duds. I am going to go with Jamar Chase. Just got suspended for a game. I know that he's going to appeal it. He got suspended in the 4th quarter for spitting on Jalen Ramsey, then denied it after the game. Just foolish, childish behavior, and he deserves the 1-game suspension. I don't see how they would overturn this on appeal. I don't know what case you're going to have to make, but it's one thing to spit on another grown man, which you shouldn't do. But then you're going to lie about it and deny it. And by the way, this suspension, according to Adam Schefter, it's going to cost him his weekly paycheck of $448,000. And there's also a bonus if he's on the active roster of $58,000. Oh, yeah. I know he makes all this money, so, like, it's not that much to him. But what an idiot, because he had to spit on another human being, which is just absolutely grotesque. So I give a dud to Jamar Chase, who had a terrible game, by the way. Like, the spitting overshadows the fact that this guy just did not produce in the game, and he got ejected in the fourth quarter, so he gets a dud from me.
Dud.
Hey, you got to play the highlight there. The highlight there.
He was saying that you spit on him. Did you spit on him?
I ain't never opened my mouth to that guy.
So what do you think prompted the reaction from him?
Well, he don't like some of the words I told him.
What are you saying?
I ain't spit on nobody.
Dud.
Hey, Nico, give yourself a dud, all right?
Dud.
You know, a source just told me that Stu said, play the sound, and you didn't play the sound.
No. I said to skip the sound is what I did. No,
I know what you told me. It's just this is the Bash Nico segment.
This is true.
Nico's like the pinata today. Samter's not here. We need a pinata.
We need one, yes.
So, Nico, thank you for being the pinata.
Nico,
today.
a bigger pinata than Samter.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. What's your dud here?
I think I'm going to go 0 for 4 based on a previous conversation we had on the show, but I'm going with Seahawks quarterback Sam Darnold.
No, I got no problem with that. That's fine.
4 interceptions in a tough loss to the Los Angeles Rams as the Seahawks give away first place in the NFC West. This is how interception number 4 sounded on Rams radio.
Darnold lifts his leg to call for the silent count snap against the blitz. Has time. Now it breaks down. Hit. Jump pass. He throws it away again. Intercepted by the Rams. Out the right side at midfield. LA takes it away with D. Will. 4 interceptions in midnight mode. They've turned Sam Darnold into a pumpkin at SoFi Stadium.
Dud.
Turned him into a pumpkin at SoFi Stadium. That's a line. All righty, Stu, send us home. Save us in this segment because Nico can't.
All right, I'm going to go with the Chargers as my dud. And I did not think that going to Jacksonville, I know they had the playing the 1 o'clock Eastern window, but I don't know. I just thought the Chargers would win this game, but they got blown out 35-6. And Justin Herbert wasn't good. He was just 10 of 18 for 81 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. They only had 42 yards rushing on the ground. Jacksonville, meanwhile, Lawrence had a decent game, 153 yards, but it was really on the ground where the Jaguars shined. 192 rushing yards, 4 total rushing touchdowns, including Travis Etienne, who had 2 touchdowns on the game. Here is one of them.
And they run it with Etienne to the left side, to the 10, inside the 5-yard line, stretching for the pylon. Travis Etienne, touchdown! A touchdown run of 13 yards. Jacksonville's extended the lead. This one's been all Jaguars all day long at Everbank Stadium.
Dud.
All righty, those are some studs and duds right here on the Zach Gelb Show. We'll take a timeout. When we come on back, we'll skip around the room. We'll see how Nico will botch this segment next, as we will do one college football coach and one NFL head coach that going into the year you question that are actually starting to make you change their opinion about them and are actually starting to impress you. It's Zach Gelb and Stuart Kovacs doing Marconi Award-winning radio, while Nico is basically trying to get us all fired. We'll take a timeout and come back after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network on a Monday. You do got Cowboys and Raiders tonight that will wrap up Week 11 of the NFL season. So let's do this right now. As we see the majority of the college football season play on out and the majority of the NFL season so far play on out. And you have takes before the season starts. You don't like this coach. You don't like this quarterback. You don't like this player. That happens. But let's just skip around the room here because we could admit when maybe we're wrong or maybe someone changes our opinion and then you start to believe in them a little bit more. But let's go around the room. Give me one coach in college, one coach in the NFL that you said, okay, I was a little bit critical about them before the start of the season, or I wasn't a believer, and now maybe you're believing or you want to give them praise. Let's start college football first. Nico, who is your coach?
I'm going to go with Curt Cignetti at Indiana. I thought that after they got killed in that playoff game against Notre Dame, after getting killed against Ohio State, the second to last game of the regular season, everyone was kind of like, all right, 1 year wonder for Cignetti and the Hoosiers. Curtis Rourke obviously was not coming back. They go into the transfer portal, they get Mendoza, and they have done fabulous things this season. Obviously 11-0, ranked number 2 in the AP poll, probably will be 2 in the college football playoff poll when it comes out tomorrow night. So Curt Cignetti, I thought it was going to be a 1 year wonder. I apologize. You have definitely done some good things in Indiana.
Stu, who's your college coach?
I'm going to go with Brent Venables at Oklahoma. Now, going into the season, I think he was kind of, in a way, on the hot seat in a way, but just because of his first few years there were kind of disastrous in a way. And I thought they'd be like, in the late teens, early 20s, maybe finish with 3 or 4 losses, especially with a tough SEC schedule. But they've held their own. They only have 2 losses. Obviously, that big win against Alabama. They could have been Ole Miss. That was at least somewhat pretty close game. And if they beat Missouri and LSU, they're going to be a 10-win team and in the playoffs. So Venables, for me, has really shown a lot this season.
I didn't think this team before the start of the season would win 9 games. They have a possibility of winning 10 games and making the college football playoff. They probably do lose this weekend, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities that they win. But I've been critical of stinking Lincoln and Lincoln Riley. Now, I've always said about Lincoln Riley, he was really good at Oklahoma, but I never thought he was great just because of the fact that he never won a college football playoff game with all those college football playoff appearances, all those trips there to the Final Four. And you also had multiple Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks. Then he gets to USC, has Caleb Williams, doesn't make the playoffs, has a Heisman Trophy winning version of Caleb Williams, doesn't make the college football playoff. In the following season, they weren't even in competition for the postseason, and they had just some dreadful losses. Now, going into this year, there wasn't a lot of optimism about USC. I thought Lincoln Riley should be on the hot seat. And they lost that game to Illinois. Then they lose to Notre Dame. But right now they're sitting there at 8-2. Forget about Missouri State and Georgia Southern and Purdue. They beat Michigan. They beat Nebraska. They beat Northwestern over the weekend. They beat Iowa by a score of 26-21. I will give credit to Lincoln Riley, where even if they lose to Oregon and they beat UCLA, that's a guy that is probably going to be 9-3 on the football season, and there's still a chance that he could beat Oregon. And if they are 10-2, I don't think they're keeping USC out of the college football playoff, and that could cause a big problem here for the playoff committee, because I think the playoff committee right now is only really factoring in that 3 Big Ten teams are going to get in, and they're assuming those 3 Big Ten teams that are going to get in are going to be Oregon, are going to be Indiana, and then also Ohio State. Now, here's the thing. If Oregon loses to USC, just play the conversation out here. And then let's say Oregon beats Washington. If the Ducks are sitting there at 10-2, do you think they would keep the Ducks out of the playoffs if it came down to just USC and Oregon? You think they put both of them in? Or you think they would say, okay, USC beat Oregon, so USC's in, and then we'll just leave out Oregon? Because I think the committee's going to try to get 5 SEC teams in this year. I really do. If you give me 4 teams from the Big Ten, that would kind of throw a wrench here in this quest to get 5 teams from the SEC. So if Oregon's at 2 losses, do you think they still put them in?
I think they would still put them in. And at that point, I would be a little concerned about the fate of my team getting in.
Oh, I think your team, here's the misnomer. There's a spot reserved for Notre Dame in this college football playoff. There is. Whether they want to admit it or not. As long as you don't lose to NIU, right, which you did last year, and you had to win out, and you could only lose 1 game. But you have respectable losses. You lost to Miami by 3. You lost to A&M by 1. I know you could then say, well, who did Notre Dame beat? They did beat USC. Who did Oregon beat? I don't think there's a way a 2-loss Oregon gets into the playoff, even though they play in the Big Ten, over a 2-loss Notre Dame. And I get it, Notre Dame doesn't have great wins, but in this conversation, that means, in all likelihood, Notre Dame would beat USC, Oregon would not. Oregon's wins this year, and I like Oregon. I think Oregon's going to beat USC. I think Oregon's going to the college football playoff. I think Oregon's better than what people think. They play Montana State, Oklahoma State. These are victories. Northwestern, Oregon State, Penn State, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. Like, you better beat USC this week. And then they play Washington after that. It will be interesting, though. There's some scenarios that could really mess this up, like Michigan. All right, Nico, let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on Sharon Moore? I'll explain more about what I mean by there being a path still for Michigan, but what are your thoughts on Sharon Moore so far?
I think he's a good coach. They have the youngest team in the Big Ten, so I think that's what he's been holding on to. But
Michigan Homer.
I like what Sharon Moore has done this year.
What has he done, though, this year?
Kept them in playoff contention the entire way.
Who has he beat this year?
I mean, they went on the road and beat Nebraska. I guess you call that a good win. They beat Washington at home.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they played close enough against Oklahoma where that doesn't look like a bad loss in the committee's eyes.
It shows you the power of the brand, though. Like, that offense stunk against Oklahoma. And then against USC, that was just a dreadful game. But if Michigan beats Maryland, which they will this weekend, and then they beat Ohio State, you could make the case Michigan has the best win in the country this year in college football. Like, right now, the best win in college football, would it be Indiana at Oregon? Right? That's probably the first thing that rings a bell right now. Now, Indiana, Ohio State, Big Ten championship, that could be one. The SEC, they're just so bunched together. I like Georgia's performance in the fourth quarter against Ole Miss. I thought that was good. But, yeah, you could make the case that if Michigan beats Ohio State, it's the best win in the country. Could you imagine if Michigan in a year where even you, Michigan homer, they don't feel like a college football playoff team, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And now some talk show hosts don't know this, but Justice Haynes is going to be out for the year, correct?
Mm-hmm, yep.
You know, I don't know which talk show hosts don't know
regular
this.
Season, but yes.
I hear some things on our network where some talk show hosts, just maybe didn't know that Justice Haynes, they just read stats. They didn't know that he was out or not expected to return at some point this season, I guess we could say it. But, I won't dip my toe in those waters too many times, but some of those people like to talk about me. But anyway, Ohio State, if Michigan is 10-2, you think like they probably get in, which is crazy.
I'd like to think so. A 10-2 Michigan with a win over the number one team in the country. How do they not?
Let me tell you, I'm rooting for the most chaos possible. I want to see chaos. Like, let's make this like a 40-car pileup, in rush hour in New York City, just something like that. That could be the current state of the city, honestly, these days. Bro, should I say that, bro? Oh, I can't say that on this station, bro. All right, we'll continue. NFL coach that has impressed you this year that you're critical entering the season. We start with Nico.
I'm going to go with Liam Cohen in Jacksonville. I did not think that the Jags would be as good as they are. I know that everyone's saying that they still don't think that they're going to make the playoffs, but who had Jacksonville at 6-4 on their bingo card coming into the year? Because I certainly did not. So shout out to Liam Cohen, what he's done there with Trevor Lawrence on his third different head coach to be able to get him playing well enough to keep the Jags in playoff contention. So I like what they're doing down in Jacksonville.
All righty, Stewie.
I'm going to go with Shane Steichen in Indianapolis and 9-8.
Good one.
9-8 his first year, 8-9 last year, and then going into the season, it was maybe going to be Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones as your quarterback that you're trying to make the playoffs with, and I wasn't really confident in either of those two guys. But the Colts are 8-2. Jones looks really good. Their running game is amazing with Jonathan Taylor. Good defense as well, and he's obviously saved his job and then some with the year they've had so far.
I was at a beautiful establishment yesterday, watching all the football games. And I was watching all the games, but there was a Bears fan sitting next to me. And as I see J.J. McCarthy putting the Vikings in the end zone, I told the waitress, please bring us over 2 whiskey shots, because I knew that my friend that I was with needed a little emotional and liquid support in a moment like that. But right after J.J. puts the ball in the end zone, which, by the way, when Jordan Addison catches that football, how did he not tear his ACL with the hit that he took on his legs? Like, I was shocked that he got up and everything that was fine, especially with how slow it did look. But then the Bears get right down the field, and they end up kicking the game-winning field goal. The Bears usually just don't win those games. And I found Ben Johnson this offseason to be insufferable. I thought Ben Johnson was extremely insufferable after losing to the Detroit Lions. Since those 2 losses to open up the year against Minnesota, where he botched that game, and Detroit, they've only lost 1 game. And they've had a lot of back and forth that hasn't always been clean. But if you're a Bears fan, style points don't matter. At this rate, you just got to win. And Ben Johnson at least provides you hope. I still don't know if it's going to work, but he provides you hope. And I'm not saying they even had these great wins. But the fact that they're sitting there at 7-3 and there's a realistic chance they could win the division, I will even tip my cap and even maybe take my hat off and salute Ben Johnson, even though I still find him to be arrogant and insufferable. But the guy is winning a lot of football games. Like the game a few weeks ago at the Bengals. They should have choked that game away. They should have lost, and they still found a way to win. Ben Johnson has just brought, even though it could be sloppy at times, a confidence where this team is now winning a lot of games. And since September, they've only lost one game. It is impressive with what he's been able to do this year. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. Come on back. We'll update some of the biggest stories of the world of sports with some audio. We will do a news brief next. Update time first. Here is Justin Rock.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Hey, Zach, this is sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. If you spit, you will sit. That's the edict handed down by the NFL today after being caught on camera spitting on Jalen Ramsey during Sunday's loss to the Steelers. Jamar Chase suspended 1 game for unsportsmanlike conduct. Bengals play the Pats this Sunday. Yesterday's heavyweight fight in the AFC West saw the Broncos grab a 22-19 win over the Chiefs. They've got a 2-game lead in the division. Patrick Mahomes knows it's tough sledding ahead for KC.
Obviously, it's going to be tough to get back in the division race, but at the end of the day, all the goal is to get into the playoffs and try to make a run at it. And all you can focus on is next week. We got to learn from this one as much as possible. Got to keep moving forward. That's what this league's all about.
College football, Virginia Tech has their new head coach, Pete Thamel, reporting they're finalizing a deal with former Penn State head coach James Franklin. CBS Sports adding that Franklin and Penn State negotiated his $49 million buyout down to $9 million. NBA's the Spurs' Victor Wembanyama has a left calf strain. He'll be out at least 2 weeks. And the Grizzlies' John Morant has a grade 1 right calf strain. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. With your sports flash at the bottom of every hour, I'm Justin Rock.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. It's now time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, and it's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And when we get to that question of the day, we do have a question, and the question is from Charles in Pennsylvania, who asks, well, Aaron Rodgers suffering a wrist injury, with him suffering a wrist injury, do we still think they will win the AFC North? You can submit a question by tweeting at INF Sports or at Zach Gelb, using the hashtag AskThePros. Stick O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I just don't know how long he's going to be out for, if at any time at all. Because I heard Schefter say today he's trying and he's telling people that he's going to try to play through this. Now, it's a left wrist injury, and he has a slight break in his left wrist. I know that's not his throwing hand, but how are you going to grip the ball? So I guess Rodgers at the point where he knows that at the end of his career, so he's like, puck it. I'm assuming that's what he's thinking. I said puck, don't worry. But I'm starting to think the Ravens are going to win that division. I am. And the Ravens have climbed out of this hole. I know that the Steelers have still been able to hold them off. But that December 7th game, Steelers at the Ravens, I know the Ravens did not even look good yesterday in beating the Browns. And they had to pull that out against the Cleveland Browns of all teams. But I'm starting to think that the Ravens are gonna win that division over the Pittsburgh Steelers. All righty. It's time to update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief right now.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, let's get to Big Red. Andy Reid, the Kansas City Chiefs, they lose to the Denver Broncos. They're sitting there at 5-5 on the season. The Chiefs were coming off a bye, and they still lost, which Andy Reid never does. Here is Andy Reid on the offensive struggles.
Yeah, well, it was they're the number one defense in the National Football League. So we were fighting, and then we had some where we were going backwards and kind of self-inflicted things. So we've got to take care of that.
I think the world of the Denver Broncos defense, even with that being said, you have Patrick Mahomes. And there was one play where the interception was negated, and then he still threw a pick later on in that drive. Oh, it was ugly. Here is Patrick Mahomes. He takes the blame for the late game struggles.
I mean, just having an opportunity at the end of the game and not coming through, getting the ball back with 4 minutes, and all you need is a field goal. Is a spot that we've been in a lot, and we've been able to do that. But I mean, there's hit things here and there, but I think that's the biggest one. That's what you want. You want to get that opportunity at the end of the game, and we didn't. I didn't come through.
Now you take a look at the AFC West standings after yesterday. I know the Raiders play tonight, but they're out of the picture. They've been out of the picture for about 27 years. But the Broncos are 9-2. The Chargers are 7-4. The Chiefs are 5-5. So, did yesterday put the nail in the coffin of this idea of the Chiefs winning the AFC West? I think so. The Chiefs could still make the playoffs, but let's hear how Patrick Mahomes answered that when he was asked if the Chiefs could still win the AFC West.
Obviously, it's going to be tough to get back in the division race, but at the end of the day, all the goal is to get into the playoffs and try to make a run at it. And all you can focus on is next week. We got to learn from this one as much as possible. Got to keep moving forward. That's what this league's all about.
Here's the thing. It's dangerous because you still got to make it. But the Chiefs know if they just get in, no one's going to want to play them. Because the Chiefs are still the boogeyman, even though this year the boogeyman is seeing a ghost even. And they're being 5-5, and they don't look as strong as they've been in the past. But it's amazing. They are 1-4 on the road this year. Kansas City, you think whatever, place them in any environment, they could win. They're 1-4 on the road. And the Broncos, even though I hate that incomplete chant, incomplete, anytime there is an incomplete pass, they are 6-0 at home. Is that the dumbest chant in sports, by the way? The incomplete chant?
I love it.
Really?
I kind of like it too. And that's sacrilegious as a Raiders fan to say that.
Well, yeah, you love it because let's be real. Your team throws incomplete passes every time that they play there, and you're probably tanking every year. Why do you like the incomplete chant?
I think it's creative. I think when different teams have their own thing, it's cool.
Can I be honest? For years, I had no clue what they were chanting. Like until 2-3 years,
Same.
I was just
younger,
hearing the background, and I'm like, what are they saying? And then eventually it was Gallo. He's like, bro, they say incomplete. By the way, Anthony Gallo's favorite coach is Sean Payton. Here is Sean Payton on Bo Nix's performance in the win.
He won. That's his job. He won. And against a pretty stingy defense that can give you problems. Yeah, there were some big plays there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think Sean Payton cares how they win just as long as they win. So Bo Nix, was he sensational? No. But that throw late in the game to Troy Franklin was magnificent. And it's enough. And they're 9-2, so you can't really kill them for much. Talking about teams that win that people are still critical of, the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't score that many points up against the Packers on Monday. They only had 10. They still won the game. They only scored 16 against the Lions, and they still won the game. Let's go to A.J. Brown. He's been upset with a lot of people as of late. A.J. Brown was asked about the team's offensive struggles, even though they keep on winning.
How do you reconcile that, that you got your target, but the offense still didn't kind of deliver the way you wanted to?
It wasn't about targets last week or the week before.
Production.
It wasn't about that at all. It was me trying to help and contribute. That's all. And regardless of what that looked like in phases, I think I did. But like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we as offense and me myself need to continue to get better at.
Let's hear from Nick Sirianni. Is he still concerned about the offense?
Obviously, we want to be better than what we were tonight, but every game's played a little bit different. Like, the way the game is played sometimes is dictated of what's happening in the game, right? Make no mistake about it, our goal in every single game is to come out with a win.
All righty, let's keep it moving. We will go to Ernest Jones of the Seahawks. He defends Sam Darnold after Sam Darnold's 4-interception game, as they did lose by 2 to the Rams.
Man, Sam's been balling. Like, if we want to try to define Sam by this game or what, man, Sam's had us in every game. So for him to sit there and say, "Oh, that's my fault," no, it's not. There was plays that defensively we could have made plays. There were opportunities where we could have got better stops. Yeah, I mean, like, it's football, man. And he's our quarterback. We got his back, and if you got anything to say, quite frankly.
Wow. I do got something to say. I think it's actually impressive that he threw 4 interceptions and they still almost won the game. Now, with that being said, it's not necessary to say F you in that regard. There's many cases where you could say F you, but you're supporting your teammate. Okay, I like that. That's good team camaraderie. But Sam Darnold's got to go win a big game. You got to win a playoff game this year. Seahawks are a damn good team. You got to win a playoff game this year if you're Sam Darnold. If not, there's that narrative. All right, he has come back from the dead to stabilize his career. But is he just going to be good or is he going to be great? Because last year he was playing great, and the last 2 games of the season he was horrible. Then you have a big spot like this, and you throw 4 interceptions. And let's be real. I know he played his ass off up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers earlier this year. His interception to Levante David, though, also cost him the game in that one, too. So he's got to go have a big moment in the postseason this year and win at least one playoff game. Let's go to Deion Dawkins. He talked about Keon Coleman getting scratched. He was a healthy scratch. And the reason why Keon Coleman got scratched is because he was late to a team meeting.
I already spoke to him. When I spoke to Keon before in this game, and I told him, I said, bro, look, don't even worry about it. Everybody goes through a different journey, right? Let's just say that this is the last time, and let's just move forward. And he said, I'm with you. That's all and we need, right? Like, nobody's perfect, but in this league, we need guys to come on. And Keon knows, right? Now he's in the hot seat, and he needs to come on and show up for us. Pat's on the back or over with, and it's time for him to grow up, and he knows it. And as an older player on the team, we hold everybody accountable, and we shoot straight. We don't sugarcoat it, and the words said to him, and he took it well. And we'll see how it goes in this week. But like I said in the beginning of the season, I'm in Keon's corner, man. Like, this league is hard. Being on time is hard. Being great is hard. Pushing for greatness is hard. So we got his back, but the time is now.
They need another weapon in that offense. And I know Dalton Kincaid is hurt, but he hasn't popped off yet. Keon Coleman was supposed to be a stud. He's been more of a dud. That's just unacceptable. It really is. And you have a chance to go win a Super Bowl this year. It's not because you have this great team. Chiefs may not be in the postseason, but you have a great quarterback. Guys got to help out the quarterback. You know, that's the bottom line. You have to help out your quarterback. And finally, here's Shane Beamer. After blowing the game to South Carolina, it's been a disastrous season. People are saying Lenore Sellers should come on back, but should transfer. Here is Shane Beamer on all those Lenore Sellers rumors.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of absolute horse garbage that's on social media right now.
Well, some folks are saying that he's likely coming back.
Hopefully that's not horse garbage. Some of the other stuff that.
I think Todd McShay made the comment. There have been a couple of folks out there who've been kind of insinuating that he's coming back.
Yeah, last week that guy was saying he was going to Miami. I think the same guy was, right? So this social media, it's gonna be I love y'all, but it's gonna be the end of all of us. Some of the stuff.
Winning football games. That's the bottom line. I don't want to hear what he has to say. And I like Shane Beamer when you're losing football games this year and you've been disappointing. And then you're slamming the speculation or the conjecture on social media. The facts are, and his dad said it, Lenore Sellers, last year he was offered a 2-year NIL deal for $8 million. We had him on the show before the season started talking about it in Lenore Sellers. If you're Lenore Sellers, you're probably not going to be a first-round pick this year. You could still go pro if you want. I think you should go play college football again next season. And I don't think it's crazy to suggest that maybe you hit the transfer portal and go somewhere else because this year is just not working with the constant change that is on the South Carolina offense. All right, that will do it. Fun show today. Big thanks to Nico. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to each and every one of you. We will talk to you tomorrow, everybody, at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. The Honey Badger is going to join us tomorrow. Looking forward to that conversation. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.